Welcome again to our Apex Legends Global Series, and it's match day 3, which marks the end of our first round robin, but also marks the beginning of these two teams, these two groups that have not faced each other yet. It was Group A who had the back-to-back doubleheader, and we saw the Falcons rise above the competition and soar to a first place. Who in this day will do the same? We're about to find out. My name is Randy. I'm your host. I hope you all watching at home are enjoying this day of Apex Legends action. It is time to get it on, and of course I gotta do it with some colleagues of mine that have been here in EMEA. We had a great broadcast. We're back for North America. Let's introduce them. First off, it's Onset, Mark Hatcher. Great day in EMEA. Can North America follow up?
Oh, we'll have to find out. I love having the best seat in the house for this, by the way. Just sat here watching all these games. I'm very, very excited. First time casting North American since all of the roster mania, the carnage, the org swaps, all of this madness that's gone down. And that's before we even talk about season 21 and all that that's brought as well. So very excited to get back on the mic today. I think we're going to have some great games.
Yeah, we have such a great roster of talent who show up during this pro league, but you couldn't, really replace just the duo that's been together for so long. And of course, I'm talking about your partner in crime, Dan Gaskin, as well. Your first take, your first look at this new North America.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have the big hitters based off what we've seen so far today, or previously in the first match weeks, but I think that could change here today, because now there is an opening for everyone to try and kind of rise to the top, say, all right, we don't have anyone sponging the points, we don't have the pressure maybe from some of these big sides that have those expectations. North America never disappoints.
It is an interesting thing as we set the table, the landscape, so to speak, however you will, for what North America has shown us so far. It has been a Falcons SSG dominated series, and it's been a doubleheader with Group A looking like the group of death, well, showing it as well. But now it's B and C, and let's get into what has occurred here, because as things change, we see changes across all of these groups. And now, just from the basic changes, we see Ape Gang going to Empire Gaming. So the one simple name change will lead us into today's match day. So keeping things relatively simple for those who are tracking that squad. Empire Gaming will join 19 other teams though, guys. And as we take a look at the overview of the 20 teams that will now be competing in B versus C, the difficulty, the difference is none of these teams have had a double header, Mark. So they've had to wait a week between being able to compete last weekend and now, and I'm sure they are ready to go.
And boy, has there been some interesting conversations that have taken place both in-game and out of game between some of the players and teams, and all of that lovely drama that we love, which just adds a little bit extra meaning to these games and the results of them, right? Because if you're one of these players who's been spouting a few words, and you've got to back it up with some performances, and I'm very excited to see this. I mean, there's so much to talk about. You can literally pick any name, any team off of this, and there's something to talk about with the season they've had so far. And we've only had 2 match days. I think that's the wonderful thing, right? We have so much more to learn.
And you keep looking at teams as we head over to the overall standings that have performed. But you also look at this other narrative, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to see teams that have stayed together. Complexity being one of them, DSG being one of them as well, that they'll be facing off today. But so far, Team Falcons, SSG, NRG, all hailing from Group A, obviously have put themselves in the top spot. But NRGs, that looks like that could change, especially all the way down to CCE. Dan, when you really look at this, there's a lot of teams who should be worried to lose that top 7 spot if some teams perform here in B versus C.
Yeah, and this is what I meant by the heavy hitters, with the 2 at the top having such a points difference. But I think that means it's even more important that you perform today so that you can catch up the leaders. Now you know they are not going to be involved here. And I mean, Oblivion, they're in touching distance, really. They've been performing excellently so far. Are we going to see more from LG today? Can they show something? Furia, for example, another squad that could put on a big performance. And as always, eyes will be trained on TSM. Not Moist have performed excellently in the scrims between B and C, so I'm expecting big things from them today as well.
And you can't really blame any of these teams who might not have had the best day in their first debut, because it was, of course, against 2 teams who were just neck and neck, taking a lot of those points. Point sponging, I think it's a great term, meaning those top 2 teams taking the majority of the points available in that lobby. So all these other teams really weren't able to separate themselves or climb up off of any huge wins. Now, as we look at the overview, we've now got to focus in, fellas, on what is going to be the storyline heading in today. And I know, Mark, you've been eyeing a few teams who have been, doing a little bit midweek.
Yeah, certainly been some conversations that have been had. I'm looking at SKD, I'm looking at TSM, and the players, and not just players, coaches as well, who have had a little bit of a back and forth, shall we say. I've got to say, I'm not really one for drama myself, but this one pulled me in. You had Verholst with some, shall we say, some strong words, some truth in there, I'm sure, about Raven, and Raven responding in kind. And as always with the story, right, there's always two sides, and the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. So make of that what you will, but two teams who are expected to perform, I think, is the takeaway from it. You're looking at their comparative stats as well, pretty close. The results as well, very, very close when it came to placements in those games. Both teams trying to, I would say, find their feet a little bit after the changes, but the Raven as the addition as the coach to SKD been very, very important for them. And obviously Zap joining TSM and kind of seem to be figuring out a little bit of the IGLing as a unit and having a little bit more success in scrims than we've had previously. But another team that I'm keeping my eyes on as well is Liquid Alienware. Reason being, whenever Liquid, in my opinion, start a new meta, a new split, whatever it might be, it sometimes takes them a little bit of time to get going. And you were seeing that in scrims, and you had some crazy conversations, people saying, hey, maybe this is Liquid falling off a little bit. Maybe Liquid aren't going to have the performance that we expect from them. Well, I think after that first match day, they put a few of those questions to bed. And I think the more and more games that this team get under their belt, the more they learn about how they want to approach not just the lobbies that they're playing with, but also the meta itself, how they get their heads around it and how they want to perform.
Well, a team I want to keep an eye on, and a team that maybe has been performing under expectations, is Disguised. Is everything okay in the camp? Is the way they're going, the direction they're going, is that what we want to see from a team like Disguised after how close they've been to the very top throughout several different competitions so far? I think that we need to see a response today, just as we had in EMEA earlier on. When you see a team like 07 who struggled but then bounced back, we know that Disguised are more than capable of doing so, and I'm excited to see what they offer today when we don't have the two biggest teams taking up all of the points. On the flip side, someone who maybe is overachieving, or a team that we didn't really expect to be here, Oblivion. I mean, we knew what they were capable of. We knew they were a side who can perform well on the day, but the fact they were so close to even winning their match day, if it wasn't for a poor last 6th game performance, they could have been up there. They could have been the ones taking those points away from the likes of Falcons and Space Station. Performed excellently in scrims recently as well, taking 3rd place, only short of the likes of Not Moist and Complexity. So I think they have realized that they are the real deal. They can compete with the very best, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're one of the teams at the top of the lobby after it's all said and done here today. Definitely a team to keep an eye on for both reasons, though. Disguised for a slightly different one, but certainly here, Oblivion, they have been performing excellently, and I'm expecting more of the same. Rain Day, I think that when you look at Oblivion and what they've been able to achieve, to do it alongside the likes of SSG and Falcons makes it even more impressive.
I certainly want to highlight Oblivion, and one of the elements of what makes their performance so good is the fact that they're part of a 3-team swap. Now, normally when you have a swap like this or a trade in a major sport, some team is kind of giving away assets for a long-term play, and 2 teams, maybe 1 team, is getting the big immediate benefit, the big bonus, the star that's going to change their game. Now, SSG obviously let go of their roster. Frex went away, and Phony stayed at the head of that, adding in Zainu and Koifel to round out a team that performed basically second and almost beat Falcons, the super team, overall in their first 2 match days. But then you look at Oxygen Esports, where Frex lands, and you say, wow, Oxygen Esports 4th as well. They played well, and maybe Frex's leadership, his position, fits really well with Aiden and Vayne. But then you look at who left with Aiden and Vayne. Oxygen Esports, a team that got 3rd in the championships just a year ago. Well, it's Reeds, and Reeds finds his way onto Oblivion with Aimbot and Blinkzer. I still don't know how to say it. I apologize for that one. The R throws me at the very end. And really, I think ultimately creates a team that all 3 teams got a little bit better. And Mark, that's a rarer version of these kind of swaps that happen in Rostermania. But it seems like for North America, that's how it's panned out, at least up until now.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. It's very, very rare that you'll have everybody going, oh, this is kind of working out. It's usually someone who's gone scraping around to get the roster together in the last moments and going, oh, you're available. You got dropped. Then it all comes together in the last second, and you're kind of just crossing your fingers and hoping that you're going to have the results. But I think it's a great point. You know, everybody seems to have gained something that was missing, and it's very rare that happens. And I'm just happy that all of those teams, all of those players have landed somewhere where, even though it's a small data pool at the moment, it seems early on that the signs are good.
It certainly does. And, the signs of North America, there were so many. People obviously still holding the ones for TSM, now holding Falcons, new teams able to kind of get that fandom going again. But I really want to kind of take a look at who drafted what POIs, because that's been another conversation piece that has not neglected North America. It's been ever present across all of our regions. Dan, this is always and now will be a major part of the ALGS moving forward.
Yeah, as trends are going, Sky West is still the most popular pick when it comes to a POI. So the fact that SKD had the opportunity to do so, they take that straight away. But of course, it means they will have a worse pick on Stormpoint. Some interesting selections. TSM taking Climatizer East. You could argue that is the second most popular POI. So the fact that Edge didn't go for that, they went for Monument instead, which is down and around 7th in terms of the ADP, the average draft pick. So clearly, it's a comfort pick, you'd imagine, for Edge, or they went for a Stormpoint pick first. That's where you've got to consider here. So it is definitely interesting seeing who's taking what, but certainly those first three we have to keep an eye on.
And Mark, sometimes it doesn't tell the story, that ADP, that average placement of where you end up getting your draft and where you end up placing overall in the game and getting points from it. That doesn't always tell the story. Sometimes teams outperform, the location that they get.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in EMEA earlier, right? We saw some skyhook zones, and we saw teams who were coming from, I think, Big Maud, who won that game, and it just proves that, the draft is one thing, your POI is one thing, but how you approach the game and how you execute in game is completely another. So one thing to point out here, LG Lava Fissure, very comfortable pick for them. The Geyser is going to be for Boar. Usually that's one that you look at as a little bit of a weaker one. Team Liquid having the Dome as well. I wonder if they're going to have a little bit of stacks as well available, and they're going to try and take both. But one thing about Team Liquid, they usually play from launch site, so I think that playing from this side of the map for them is going to be very comfortable.
And here's a big overview of where they stand for match day number 3, groups B and C on World's Edge. You'll see it here. Some shout outs of C9 over at Overlook. Geyser is going to be Boar. You see Empire and Mod, and all the way to the left, some teams like SKD. They're going to be in Sky West. Right outside near Lava Fissure will be LG, and DSG down at the bottom at launch site. We'll continue to track that because Stormpoint will show a different story as well for those drop spots. But overall, I think we have seen an interesting dynamic develop, Dan, and I feel like this is one that I'm really excited about, where at the outset, as we get ready for the game and players just loading up, so we're just giving you guys a little bit of info at the top before we jump in. Trust me, we are ready to go as well. At the start of this season, when this was announced, felt very short before these players had to go. A little bit of an uproar, but I think anybody who's given a pop quiz right before they, step into class is going to feel a little bit like, come on, teach. I would have loved to know when this is coming, but it is ended up being an overwhelmingly positive response by both the players and I think the fans as well, and helped the game. What's your take on just the way teams have maybe started viewing it and then now have transitioned into the actual value, Dan, that this POI draft has brought to the ALGS?
It is funny because you get the natural echo chamber where the pro players didn't like it at first. So some of the audience were like, well, if they don't like it, I don't like it either. But then suddenly the pro players, after scrimming in it, were like, actually, this does change things. This maybe does make it more exciting, not just to watch, but to play as well. And we are starting to see the IGLs really be able to experiment a little bit more. And they're not going through the same maybe tedious patterns they'd had before. Same old rotations, same teams they're going up against. It almost became robotic at times with how they would go through their matches. Now you have to think very quickly on your feet. Try and develop that strategy in the moment. Where are those Evo harvesters? How are you going to be able to push through? Which team is going to be there? Are they going to beat us on our rotation? Is our POI a good one? Are we going to go for a good POI, or do we try and go for some of the more average ones, depending on when we can pick? You heard Nasky on the EMEA show earlier, excuse me. He believes that the way that they play, they are comfortable to take a kind of contest down over in Lava Siphon, so they feel like they are always going to get a POI because everyone else is scared to pick anywhere at Siphon because they don't want to take that contest. So that almost gives them a freebie of where they're going to pick as well. So there's been lots of different nuances that have come out of the POI draft.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, do you have similar thoughts as well as Dan, or are you kind of anything to add to that? Because I think to me, it seems like that's right on the money in terms of the approach players had, and then now are starting to understand the value that it's bringing their game.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is I love it. As soon as it came in, I was like, this is great. It's a leveling ground. But I think it's something that's going to separate the best from the rest, because the ability to be adaptive, to lean on your IGL to make great calls. I mentioned it previously in the EMEA show, to have your coach doing the research on how to rotate from certain POIs, what your playable spots are, all this sort of thing, just for me kind of expands the skill gap more than anything. And one thing that Dan said really made me smile, because it's like when it came out, there was obviously a lot of pushback, right? I'm just going to say this is very good, because I feel exactly the same. And whenever there's a big change in a game that people look at and teams look at and the biggest names look at, it's usually an immediate negative response based on the fact that we are doing really well. So change is scary, right?
Yeah.
People don't want to change if they're winning titles, if they're winning championships, if they're in the finals of LAN. So all of those things come in to that discussion, that immediate reaction. And I was seeing these immediate reactions and I was like, we haven't even scrimmed on this yet, let alone like played it. Like, what? I don't know what's going on here, but I'm a big fan of it. I think it's great. I think it's a great leveler. It allows teams who come through the challenger circuit as well to have some good POIs to play from. And I think it's a very healthy thing for the game.
Big shout out to Challenger Circuit as well. I think we just had one, and that was pretty exciting. So make sure to check in and tune in to your favorite teams as we get ready to jump into the lobby. And the way you can do that, not just by watching our main broadcast here, is by adding a little side monitor or going there yourself to faceit.com/watch. You can have the map screen. You can see a rotation from your favorite team. Check out Oblivion and see if they can respond with another top tier performance, or maybe Liquid Alienware is your favorite squad. You want to jump in and watch the squad from North America representing Mexico to see if they can get another big dub. Well, go ahead to faceit.com/watch and you can watch the ALGS your way. Well, Brain Day, Gaskin, Onset here as the trio for North America. Today we'll be subbing in and out as the matches get ready, but match one, it is almost upon us. So I'm going to take a break, and Onset, Gaskin, let's get it started.
Thank you very much, Rain Day. I thought you were having a Pokemon moment there for a second.
I thought he was
said your own name, and I was like, no, is that all he can say now? It's. But luckily, you recovered, because you're an absolute professional, and you made it seamless. So thank you very much. It's going to be a lot of fun today, Dan. All jokes aside, because we're about to get into the business now. This is going to be the last match day, of course, of the first round robin set of matches, and World's Edge is going to be where we start things off. The POI draft is done. You're going to see everybody dropping where they got those picks, and I'm always excited to see how game number one goes. And of course, we haven't even mentioned zone.
Gaskin. Imagine if that's just how we started talking. Yeah, so all these different POIs are going to make a big difference. SKD, I'm just going to call them Skid. Screw it.
Skiddies. That's what I'm calling them all day.
The Skidders. They've got Trials, they've got Sky West. They're going to be more than comfortable. But interestingly, Furia have taken Sky East. Now, different from EMEA, Sky East has not been a popular choice for North America. They tend to avoid it because a lot of big teams have been maybe playing from Sky West, and you feel like it is a lackluster POI position. But Furia say, actually, well, screw it. Maybe we can find some success. We have seen people do so from here, and they've been rewarded. Look at that zone. We are pushing ourselves up north, and it is going to be on the east side of Skyhook.
Yeah, they certainly have been rewarded. I want to keep my eyes on what's happening down at the other side of the map, though. Liquid Alienware, Stallions, Empire Gaming, Disguised, all extremely close. And somewhat surprising to see Liquid Alienware opting for the Dome. It's historically a pretty weak POI when it comes to your loot pool, but they do have a survey beacon and a ring console to play with, which is certainly going to help their Evo. However, just looking across, trying to see if there's any Evo harvesters that are close to them. I think there might have been one between Stacks and Dome. Yes, there was indeed. So there's a pretty good chance they're going to be able to leave with close to purples, which is a wonderful place to start, even though historically the Dome hasn't been a great POI. But one team who love to play zone is going to be Native Gaming, and welcome back to the best 6 out of 10 in the world. It is RKN. And they always say don't use in-jokes, but that's an in-joke, everybody.
Well, Native Gaming, they really want to try and take this position maybe just outside of the Vault Tunnel for now. It could be a very popular position. The Vault Tunnel in general could be great for late game, considering where this circle might be pulling, and they can take control of it with a Wattson. That's one of the benefits of having Wattson as your controller.
Well, they do have an ability to actually split one player off here who got absolutely completely trapped. Nice shots coming in from RKN. They're trying to break these Wattson fences. Oblivion will be eliminated, and Oblivion, who were one of the teams to watch coming into today's action, well, they're going to have to watch from the spectator screen for the rest of this game, because already in the first, what was that, minute or two of the game, we have a full squad wipe. So not good news for them. Good news, however, for the likes of Furia, like you mentioned. The only problem I think for Furia, though, is that they don't have a ring console. So this is a little bit of a guessing game for them about where they want to play. The Edges, they're going to be flying over their heads in towards Skyhook East. And It's already, you can see a little bit of confusion by where this zone is going according to those teams who have managed to pick up a ring console and those who haven't.
Yeah, a few teams that have moved early kind of made a decision, but then have... It looks like they changed their mind last minute, because a lot of teams moved to one direction over towards Skyhook, and then they've backed off down either to the Vault Tunnel or the train track tunnel, maybe because they realize that this is a difficult one to call, and you have to try and play somewhere that has a little bit more cover and the room to maneuver out of that position if the zone does shift in an unorthodox way. But there are a lot of teams that are just going to have to play the late game here. You spoke about Liquid Alienware down at Dome. By the way, the Dome is the least popular POI pick out of every POI in World's Edge. So I think you brought up a good point. Playing from the southeast is something that they're comfortable with. So it doesn't really matter for them. They're one of the few teams who probably will be more than happy to have the Dome.
One team who, it sounds strange to say because obviously there is some history about talking about TSM a lot. I am more than aware, everybody. It's good to have fun and poke fun at yourself sometimes, but isn't really talked about as maybe someone who can win a LAN anymore, which to me seems absolutely wild. You know, the fall off of, shall we say, appreciation for what TSM have as a team is mind-boggling to me. You've got two players here who have won championships, who have won the ALGS championship, and early on here, you're seeing them doing some good damage onto C9 in the train tunnel.
Yeah, you have to give respect where it's due, even though the IGL takes a lot of kind of the decision-making process. Losing one of the best IGLs in the world is always going to hurt initially, but now you have the chance to prove yourselves, and TSM, both Verholst and Rep, stepping up together here to kind of show what they're made of and show that there is a life past Imperial Hell, and I'm sure they'll want to prove everyone wrong when they do eventually get to LAN, if they get to LAN. But of course, at the moment, traction going pretty well. They'll be pretty happy with how everything's been going. I would expect them to be there with players of that caliber.
It's interesting as well. I mentioned the drama. Oh, actually going to see some drama taking place right now. As you can see, Temper making a little move up, and it's going to be one of the not moist players who gets caught off this time. And it's very strange to see early on. We're seeing a few players being a little bit split from their teams and getting caught out almost immediately. So not moist now. They've got some decisions to make. Do we go for the banner? Do we try and get that res? But they've already backed up to a point where it's like, it looks like they're just giving this one up. They're going to think about it maybe in a little bit of time, but I just wanted to go back to the conversation I was just kind of alluding to previously. You know, TSM, there's been some talk, right? Verholst said some words, some strong words, which was somewhat surprising. I was going to say, out of all of the players in the ALGS, Mr. Positive Play, I didn't expect it from him.
A strong man with a strong body and now strong words to go alongside said body, right? He's grown in confidence as he's got older, and yeah, sometimes
I love it.
I want to see more of that stuff. I want to see players saying how they feel so that we can get a good indication of their personality and what it would mean to them if they do find a victory, not only for themselves, but over other teams as well. Now, a team we haven't mentioned at the top of the show, LG. Still, I think this is one of the most stacked rosters we have in North America, and I have high expectations of this team, not just in this series, but throughout this entire split too.
Yeah, and what a pickup Sykes is, right? I mean, I don't have to say too much. One of the best controller players in the world, and I try and keep that list quite small, and he certainly is in there. I mean, his performances, I don't think he's let anyone down on the team that he's been on. He really is a standout player, and he had so much slaying power to this LG squad. But one team who needs some power in the form of a res beacon and maybe getting some players back in is going to be not moist. A little bit of a slow start for them as we take a look at our map overhead, and we do see where that zone is going. So the teams who are in great spots, Furia, they are inside of the beacon building. You've got Cloud9 who are just outside of the tunnel, kind of playing under the tracks. The tracks are going to be owned by TSM, and the Edges, who are the team who flew over all of this traffic a little bit earlier on, well, they're still going to be safe inside of Skyhook East for quite some time.
I think if NGNL can hold their position as well, it could be a very commanding one. You might catch a couple of people that are unexpectedly pushing up on you, but they just have to be careful about the height that is going to be to their east. We see a lot of people take the height off of them. You can see, by the way, in the kill feed, Sykes has just gone down, and the Skidders at the moment, they are doing some damage.
It's the official team name from now on. Put it on a t-shirt. The Skidders are here, everybody. SKD managing to pinch LG, who just took too long in that fight. We always talk about it, right? And then what's the benefit of a Watson? It can delay fights. You get those fences down, you have that gen, you don't have to do too much. You can take a bit of poke damage, but no one can push, because by the time they close that gap, the gen usually gets your shields back up, so you're in a position to fight. So LG have got to reassess a little bit here. Two of them still alive. as Vanity do hold down that truck, but are they going to be able to get Sykes back in? It looks like they're going to have to give up on this banner. It might be a little bit of a rough game one here for LG.
Yeah, I guess that's been one of the biggest changes with the meta shifting away from support legends. Like, we don't see the conduits now. We see far less lifelines as well, so you're not getting the ability to be able to craft the banner. And now LG are going to be from 2 down to 1, and Sweet's just going to have to play the rat game here as Bangalore. One of the better legends to rat with, but will he get the opportunity to do so?
Well, Sweet's going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because it was Designful who hit that shot with the Sentinel. Designful, of course, had a little, shall we say, a short holiday on TSM as they were trying out in the off-season, the build-up. Decided to stay with DSG. And now needs to produce some results alongside it, because like you mentioned at the top of the show, very, very disappointing day number 1 for them. Fury, of course. Madness, by the way, I want to give a little bit of a shout-out. He's had a pretty serious injury, but he's playing through the pain barrier at the moment. I'm sure he's going to get that looked at very, very soon, but always rough to see when someone unfortunately has to play through the pain, so to speak. But he's here today. He's playing through it. As we now turn our attention away from where the zone is towards Epicenter, because Stallions and Complexity have a little wave at each other.
Sure, if you asked Madness about some of his ex-teammates, he would say that he's played through pain many a time, but now it is going to be physical pain he has to battle through for sure. Complexity, by the way, did excellently in the B versus C scrims that we saw just a few days ago. If they can replicate even a small amount of that success, they will be on track to pick up some big points here today. The way they were able to maneuver their way around the map and dominate fights, not just from a distance, but even in some close range battles as well. I was very impressed with how they took on some of their 3v3. So expect more of the same from them, but at the moment, it's moving from the far east, which is going to be quite difficult. A lot of open ground to cover from Epicenter. The likes of NGNL are going to be holding them out. They'll have a little bit of high ground over them, and they have a few teams to their north as well.
Well, Temper have already managed to get one of their players up to Red Evo as well, so their pathing's been pretty good. We did see him involved in a fight earlier as well. Certainly would have contributed to that. Flatter inside a Fragment as well, and just looking to kind of knuckle down for the moment, because they do have the Caustic and their composition, and they don't really want to take this fight. I'm not sure if they would have got the armor checks onto Temper to find out that they were going to be hugely disadvantaged when it comes to this fight. But Monument, it's going to be safe for now, but in around 2 seconds time when that zone closes, I think they might be in for somewhat of a surprise, and they're going to be forced to move.
Yeah, a lot of teams are going to be seeing this next zone shift because there was a lack of ring contours for everyone to work with. We get the advantage of seeing the shift after that, and it is going to start to head east. Now, I said Complexity might struggle from that eastern side, but if they can win their fight against the likes of Stallions, they could hold the east and maybe have an opportunity to get into that final circle. But NGNL still in a really good spot. Cloud9 also in one of the better positions here.
So it pulls away from the train tracks, like you say, towards that open ground. It's a very difficult spot to play from, and NGNL, like you say, are in a very good spot, but it's going to be tough for them to hold it down, especially with we always talk about how the trucks are like good for temporary cover, but when it gets towards the end game, unless you've got a Watson gen in there and you can stop it from being destroyed, it's pretty easy to nade out and put serious damage down. But back to Native Gaming and back to the Vault Tunnel, because they are getting scanned. And elsewhere, you can see that Temper are taking a fight, and it's not going too well for them at the moment. Spades has gone down, so it's up to Cloaked and Adudian to try and even this out a little bit. They did manage to get one knock, so Cloaked is taking a lot of damage, and as he's popping the Beast of the Hunt, it looks like he's popping out of this fight.
Yeah, it's Flat that's on the other side, but also Empire are in the area to third-party this, and you can see that Nano doing his best to just try and get them back up to at least a 2 here to battle. Maybe they'll get the opportunity as a 3, but I'm not sure they're going to have the time.
Shot coming in through the window as well, so any angle is a bad angle at the moment for Flat. They haven't managed to be taken out quite as yet. Nano's managed to get one player back up to their feet. Empire's still thinking about third in this, but they know there's also other teams in the vicinity. Elsewhere, you can see that Timmy's got a knock onto a member of EEC, so that's a KP being secured. Or DSG. Lots of acronyms these days in Apex Legends, isn't there? 3-letter acronyms. It's getting a little bit out of hand.
Just makes life even more difficult for us, or even more fun. Depends how you want to look at it. Now, Empire, they realize the zone is going to be closing in. Temper do get eliminated, but Empire have to keep moving north, and they were reluctant to push in for this very reason. If they had pushed in and taken that fight, the likelihood is they would have been eating that zone.
And they're going to have the evac. The Sky's now moving up. Flat have been eliminated in the meantime. Enemy, though, he's gone down to the ring, and Guild has, he's done a bit of damage to Guild, and Guild has now gone down to the ring, so it's another potential KP that might be secured here. As Not Moist try and creep their way in. It looks like Unfortunately, that will be the solo player that will have to try and play the game out for Not Moist. Empire Gaming will be eliminated in the meantime as well. And now you're going to see one of those zones because of the lack of cover, lack of playable area. You're going to see a lot of action take place in the next zone close, where we'll probably lose half of this lobby. Speaking of zone, though, Liquid Alienware, they're bang center of it at the moment. And we mentioned how the dome, maybe not the best of POIs. Well, they've made it work.
They have made it work. As long as it's from that southeast side, they seem to be comfortable. You can see Disguise rocking their traditional Wraith composition as well, and it's a circle like this where you wonder, will it hurt having that Wraith, not having a controller legend that can maybe just allow you to create some fake cover or any sort of position that you can hold some ground. Instead, you've got the ability to traverse into the zone with the Wraith portal. As Complexity from that eastern side did move slightly south here and are taking fights and doing some good damage.
Well, it's DSG. Oh, I think I've just come through, and yes, indeed, it was the Wraith portal, and Designful got absolutely busted wide open as he came through there. Complexity allowing DSG to come through that port before hitting the trigger. Kimchi took a little bit of damage himself on the Catalyst, and Lou did a really good job, I will say, after getting that initial knock and seeing the other two players come through to get in a position where he managed to retreat and not get taken down by the following two players. But back through the portal DSG go, and even though Designful did get knocked, they should be able to get back up. Native Gaming have been eliminated in the meantime as Furia now look to push.
11 teams are outside of this next circle. The kill feed is going to light up for sure. Furia, one of those teams that has to approach from the southwest. There are 3 teams in front of Furia if they want to be able to get anywhere. But if they can scout around the northern side, they might be able to just edge their way into the zone and avoid all the conflict that's going to happen just on the southern side below them.
Well, speaking of edging your way into zone, here come the edges. They've just hit an evac themselves, and they're trying to get into the zone themselves. Designful now trying to avoid this frag grenade. Takes a lot of damage, though. Is he going to be able to get in a position to heal here? Is anybody going to look at him, or is everybody too busy themselves to allow him to get away? Maybe a KP opportunity. The spray isn't great, and that will be the end of DSG. EEC, as the two, managed to clean up those final pieces.
Still 4 more teams there on this western side that all have to move in. Cloud9, Edges, Furia, all taking fights. Vanity get eliminated now. Complexity, though, have found a home on the southern side. And not only are they comfortable from the east, but they are holding out teams on the west as Edges and Furia and the Skidders go down. Night squads now remain.
Just a note as well, by the way, LG, they're still alive. They are bang center zone, and all of these fights that are happening on the edge means that LG will guarantee a few more placement points for themselves. So a great job after losing Sykes early for them to still be a part of this game and certainly in towards the end game. Cloud9 have been eliminated in the meantime, and as we jump into the POV of TSM, let's jump into the comms as well.
Reload. Yeah.
I need to loot real quick. I need to swap guns, guys.
I mean, I feel like that was such an easy wipe, bro. I did like so much fucking like damage on them.
Any ults? No, yeah, I'm with you, but like I said, me and him just got for 100. I think we should have just griefed them. Like that was a bad call for me. Just grief them anyways. They have blues, we have a red and a perp. We got a knock. Even with the third party, we just get them out. At least get the KP. Like I didn't. Just I don't know. Maybe it would help if you guys call it out next time. Just kill this, just wipe it, even with the 3P. Because that 3P didn't even end up pushing. Like they scanned and backed up. And then I 180 the guy again on the stairway. Like.
We had to listen to the entire lobby for a second. We had TSM and Complexity. One sounded more positive than the other.
Certainly did. Well, Complexity, they will be holding that southern side. NGNL are going to be their next target, by the way. But elsewhere, you can also see the Stallions are eyeing up board on the northern tip. The winner of that fight, or this fight that is going to happen, would essentially hold the northern tip, but they then are probably going to be shot by Liquid Alienware, who, by the way, still are holding a very commanding position. But as the zone closes now, 35 seconds to try and make your way in. This is where your Catalyst is really going to come into the equation, just to try and segregate yourself from the rest of the lobby so you can take a fight.
Now, Brulelli, decent spray with that. Havoc has the turbo as well, so no wind-up time for him. Trying to push that team away, trying to force them into the carnage that's happening in front of your very eyes. And TSM are looking to take advantage of the damage that's done. They move in, they clean up some knocks, they clean up some more damage as NGNL Esports will be eliminated. Stallions, who we were just watching, they've gone down as well, as Reps now has to get back to pop that shield battery. And sweet, through all of this craziness, he's still alive as well for LG.
Yeah, you mentioned LG, but it is just a 1, of course, and TSM will be on the other side of that. Now TSM will hold the entire western side here and put themselves in one of the better spots, one of the better positions, because the entire eastern side is taken up by the remaining 4 teams. 3 teams now, excuse me, as Liquid Alienware go down.
And Reps is doing so much damage as well with that Knuckle Cluster. You saw him sticking 1 or 2 players. It was just ricochet damage, and he was just leveling up, and forcing all these teams to take damage as they fought as well. Complexity down to 2. And Arcstar that makes things a little bit more uncomfortable as well. And now they're burning. Now they're hurting. It's Kimchi who managed to get 1 shield cell off, but it's Reps who is being an absolute pest.
LG is a 1, Complexity is a 2. This is TSM's game in the bag. They surely would not throw it away from this position, but they still have to play it carefully. Sweet, though, maybe recognizing there is a weak player that he could potentially get KP and a 2nd place, and he wants to push it, but TSM will see this door and they'll push as well.
It's a 1v1. TSM will win the game, but LG managed to secure 2nd place thanks to the rat play coming in from Sweet, but TSM, do not forget about this lineup. They are still here to win.
It's a team name that's been said in that manner many a time, but it just has a different flavor to it now with all the changes. But they are certainly asserting their dominance in match number 1. A fantastic rotation and a very well played scenario from that Western side as well. It was NGNL that was their biggest threat, their biggest problem. NGNL held that position on the train tracks for quite some time, but TSM ensured that they dominated them. They took that position. As soon as they had, everything kind of unfolded on that Eastern side. There were so many teams that just slowly were marauding their way into the zone, and it's so difficult to do so in a zone that's like that. Very open, not much position to play.
Yeah, you're looking back on that game from TSM and you don't really see many mistakes, right? Their rotates were really, really strong. Their timing on their fights and their third parties looked really, really good as well. And like you say, by winning that fight on the Western side of the zone, it just meant that everything else was kind of taken care for them as the other teams fought. So very, very impressive. I would say Reps always looks like he's having fun when he's on Fuse as well. It always makes me very happy as well to see Reps playing a character who has the ability to be aggressive and kill people as well, because too long has that man been held back. I know he was playing Bangalore a lot, don't worry, I'm not like the world's shortest term memory, but still, my point stands.
No chains on him. He's unleashed and seems to be paying off as well. I think the entire TSM fan base will be delighted to see them on top in this one. They're not going to get too ahead of themselves because it's only 1 win. But when you look at what happened in scrims with B versus C, TSM weren't really in the conversation, but they've shown that scrims are there for a reason. It's a chance to practice, a chance to try and test things out, but they seem to have found a composition that's comfortable for them, and also their move from their POI seems to have worked as well.
Yeah, very, very good stuff. And you're seeing, I think, a good indication of what Fuse can actually bring to a team as well. It's sometimes very easy to forget about what one legend can give you, right? Because we're so used to seeing certain compositions, certain interactions between different legends on a team and how they work. But Fuse, just remember, you can stack nades, you can harass teams with that knuckle cluster, you can flush them out from cover. It's such a good tool to set up initial entry damage that you can play off the back of, and also just to grief other fights and pick up not only Evo, but also, of course, some of those KP as well that are going down. TSM then on top. We've said that a lot throughout history, and it looks like the story won't change. It's at least after 1 game here. 12 placement points for them, 10 kills. It's going to be a big, big game for them.
Well, it was a disappointing start for Oblivion, who had such an amazing first match week, but they just weren't able to get going because Native Gaming kind of caught them off guard at the start of the game. Disguise didn't really get much of an opportunity. At least they got 3 kills on the board so that they don't walk away with nothing here. But again, I will always ask that question. How does the composition affect them here? Will that Wraith be able to benefit them? Will it struggle because of it? There's always going to be niche scenarios where it's good and some scenarios where it's very bad. And that's the beauty of Apex Legends.
Well, let's take a look at some of the stats from our match winners then. TSM. Here's the damage dealt, and you can see, no surprise to see Reps at the top there, using Fuse to its fullest to make sure that he is knuckle clustering everybody who dares to lock eyes with him. Easy damage for him to pick up, but 2 kills alongside the 4 assists. Verholst, 5 kills for him as well on the Bangalore. We're going to have to see if they can do it in match 2. TSM on top for now. We're going to take a quick break, though. When we get back, match number 2 is going to be live, and we'll find out for ourselves.
Hey everybody, Rain Day and Gaskin here on the mic, ready to go. We're just kicking things off with a lot of fun. I'm trying to name myself first.
It's so good. It's not very often that we get to break Rain Day, ladies and gentlemen, but when it happens, it is historic. The most professional man in the world. We've cracked him finally. But what a pleasure it is to be alongside you, Evan.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, so it's just great, man. You know, things are happening. They're moving and flowing, and that's how we do it. Sometimes you got to pivot, and I will pivot this conversation, though, as that was hilarious. Dan Gaskin joined by myself, and we will jump into... I'm still breaking.
He's still going. He's still trying. You're desperately trying
I can't
not
say
to say your name. You can't say it anymore.
I'm trying.
Otherwise, he goes every time. Every single time. Well, thankfully, production has saved you now.
Dan, take it away for a second.
We've got highlights of what happened in map 1. Everyone was trying to get in the surrounding areas of Epicenter, and it looked like for a while we might have seen a team like Complexity find the win, but it was TSM who dominated that western side. And as soon as they saw it was just a lovely jubbly scenario of only 2 solos left, the inevitable was there. But hats off to LG, Sweet being able to pick up second place as a rat and getting a kill onto Kimchi. A brilliant game all round.
Oh my god.
He's still got I didn't realize how long I was gonna have to hold it for. Well, you better hope that map 2 is going to be ready here soon, by the way.
Oh, man. This is just great. This is
like the best day ever. I never thought I would get to see this day happen.
Dan keeps trying to go back in. I gotta shift somehow into it. You're not laughing. You're just going straight into analysis. You can't do maps like this, man. We got to find a rhythm. Okay, I'm back. Deep breath. The break has occurred. We are having fun. It's North America. I'm never going to say my name again. In match 2, we're going to go to World's Edge. TSM with a big win. I mean, let's get back to the actual big story here. It is TSM who have found a win. And you guys brought up so many points on the story of not having Hal and obviously saying, well, now this team can't win LAN. Who are they? There's still 2 LAN winners, multiple LAN winners in that squad. And I think it's a measure of can Zapdo fit in. Certainly he's answered that now. But in the future, will they continue to do it? It's a great start, but there's a lot more to come. And game number 2 here on World's Edge, well, that will start to tell the story as we jump back in. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We like to have a good time. And Dan, you know, I think we've settled down. I think we're ready to get into some actual gameplay here in match number 2.
Exactly. We want some action now. And I will say, Verhulst backing up the words that he did say as well. That was a question, you know, if you're going to have comments like that on social media, can you back them up once you get into the game? And certainly right now, it has been proven in match number 1. But now, heading into match number 2, are we going to see more of the same? Zone-wise, I think we're going to head south by the looks of it from what I can see, but everyone dropping in from their POI that has been selected, and we'll have to see if anyone can stop TSM in their ascendancy after map number 1.
Another big conversation, you know, around it was some of these other big name teams and DSG. I'm sure that you know, alluded to the fact that sometimes there's a team in terms of momentum that just doesn't start off with it, a team we expect to get there at the end of the season. But this DSG roster, you know, having a chance to look at what happened when, you know, I guess the results of Hal leaving to Falcons and joining the team, what it meant, TSM trialing DSG, was that really something that they got over in a week? Was that really something that, you know, going back as Designful went in and then came back to DSG had any lasting impact? Is that maybe one of the elements of, you know, why it's a slow start, just getting that rhythm in, not being able to just go straight ahead with confidence into the season? You got to wonder. I don't know, Dan, but certainly, you know, it wouldn't have been something that I felt like was as easy to adjust from than anything else. But it's just part of the business as well. These players obviously are not going to give up an opportunity that could be a big one in trialing for, you know, one of the biggest orgs in our scene.
Yeah, I think that there's 2 ways it could go. The trust can be lost when a teammate tries out for another squad, but the fact that it was tried, it was tested, and then he came back, it was almost like, you know, I saw what was on the other side of the fence and the grass was not greener, so I apologize. Let's get back into it. We have lost a little bit of practice time, but I believe that this is the team that we can progress with. And, you know, you saw the circle there. It's a good zone for Disguise, so this is the perfect opportunity for them to find some success in this game and just get back on track and try and get some of that confidence back into their system as well.
So, you know, and one of the things too is, I mean, if you just going back to put a period onto that point and maybe, you know, continue the conversation if we see it or if someone else brings it up later. But I mean, if you did that in any relationship or, you know, any interpersonal relationship, that would be a very hard pill to swallow. You know, I went and checked out, you know, my other options and then I found out, you know, no one really was there. And so I'm coming back to you. It's not really that he did that, but business has those same repercussions too. And you do build relationships with these players. That's why even Nasky previously was talking to us about, you know, how the dynamic between Zane and Amphi is so important that they all check each other. They all have that honesty, that openness. You know, you have little things hanging in the back that don't get resolved. Well, that is one thing that could come into play in these later moments and just maybe doesn't keep the energy flowing when you need it, and you need to keep building momentum. That being said, though, we've talked enough about that for sure. TSM in a great spot, LG right behind. You know, it's actually a pretty solid performance. Again, a sweet finish of kind of being one of the last players standing alive. As we follow along with Empire Gaming, I mean, any thoughts on LG? I mean, what does that team really, to you, you know, represent as in terms of their chances this season?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it in map number 1. LG is full of superstars, and there is always going to be that expectation of getting to LAN and then succeeding at LAN as well, but you have to succeed in the split first. And I think it's one step at a time for them. As soon as there's any sort of team change and anything is being built, it's going to take a little bit of time to progress as a squad. So there's not always going to be guaranteed results to start with, but certainly a second place here for LG will give them that confidence going into the rest. As for Complexity, they're just about staying alive as they back off. But I think we're going to see a lot of teams heading south now here, Rainday. Launch site and the surrounding areas, maybe just north of it. We might see a lot of teams commit to Lava Siphon as well. Those who do have ring console information will certainly be moving faster than others. A team that is still kind of in the zone and looting, booting, getting info is Stallions. They're down at the dome. They've got ring console and survey beacon there, so they could be one of the teams that could potentially wait here for the extra information, move in late, and perhaps take one of the better spots.
Absolutely, and Liquid Alienware fighting as well. You see Eternal EC getting into the mix. Dan Mantic, Coach Carter holding down this building. 2 different ways to approach it, and they're aware of it. Holding the inside gives you a lot of options in terms of 2 doors to play around, plus they've got Watson and the interception pylon, so that's going to be valuable for them. Liquid Alienware deciding to move down below, and Yanya just shooting at an evac, or shooting at someone who's there. And of course, 3rd place so far, a pretty good spot for them. They're trying to rotate Dan and just find a better spot to play off of this. They got the catalyst. Inside is going to benefit them tremendously. And the fact that they can take this here, if they want to just stay here, it's a great spot.
It's one of those zones where we're going to see it be a slow burner for those teams who have moved early, but there's a few positions that are going to be fought very hard for. Tooth and nail here. You can see Native under a lot of fire. Temper on the other side. You've also got Not Moist. All these squads are in the same kind of area. They can reside near one another, but at the moment they're all competing for desirable spots. But it looks like Not Moist are saying, look, let's not take this fight. It's a stupid one. Even if we get a couple of kills, we're probably going to get thirded with the amount of squads in the area. And it does get to that point with a zone like this. There are too many teams. You can't really take a fight if it's not isolated. So instead, you have to find somewhere to call home and be patient and then see what happens when the zone pulls.
Timber with the triple take. And in the hands of Cloaked, nonetheless. I think the triple take is one of those weapons, too, that we saw gain a little bit of market share in our playoffs. But talk about something that's been consistent. It's been a blue chip. It's that thermite, of course. And the Sentinel on the hands of Monsoon. Kimchi Lee and Lou, they found their ways. They played Rampart in our Split 1 playoffs, but no one ever doubted their ability to fight like this. So technical. Lou and Monsoon. Kimchi filling that perfect spot. Going from coach to player. But just as I say it, trying to overtake this, he goes down from the distance. It's Stunny who picks up Lou. They have a chance to get him back alive, though, but they're going to need to do a little bit of magic with this catalyst if he's going to crawl in and not get taken down, and he does make it into the building.
Yeah, this is one of the kind of horrible positions that you don't really want to find yourself in a truck like this. You can just be naded out, and especially with the rise of fuses in the lobby, it's likely that you'll be obliterated if you stay there for too long. It's a nice temporary position for Complexity, but will they stay there for the long run? They might be forced to, judging by how many teams are around them. You saw where that circle was going. Complexity will be kind of dead center of that for now, but those teams who had moved to Lava Siphon, and certainly the northern side of Lava Siphon, are going to have to move a little bit further south, as we're going to see another fight, and it is going to be TSM involved in this one.
Massive. They've already got the advantage, though. This should be TSM cleaning it up. Fully healthy on purples. They've already got another knock. It's going to be just Presley going down pretty easy. It's just a matter of salvaging it, and I don't think they're going to be able to do so as well. Nice shots from a distance. Evan is just a few bullets away. He's going to slide in, reload the mag, see if he can get it. He's got one more shot to do, and he's just aiming in the smoke, and he's going to come up with nothing. But TSM certainly hold court. Here at Geyser, they're fine. They'll be able to rotate in. Still 1:05 left. They're continuing to look pretty on point today.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll be a similar situation in the previous game. TSM, you know, they arrived like Gandalf at the perfect moment from the west. Is it now going to be from the east of Geyser as they slowly just move their way in, taking out team by team, play on edge, wait for that information on zone, and then move in? Of course, being at Geyser, there is a ring console there, so they are going to get that extra info of where the next zone is going as well. So looking good for TSM right now. Now, another squad that we spoke about, Stallions, you could see how they were just scoping out the competition in their position, but there's a lot of teams now starting to try and force their way into zone. SKD being one of them.
SKD, you know that's what I'm going to say. You guys have come up with about 1,000 nicknames right here, but you could also just call him Shuby dropped and knocked, and that might be what they're looking to get here. Another Catalyst holding down one of these trains, these train carts, as the 15th position. They'll be fine with that right now. Drop talked a lot about, you know, his journey, going from SSG, going to Optic, and leaving in the position of playoffs and kind of after roster mania, Dan. So where his stock wasn't as high. I know I've made that reference now twice, but the truth was, he said it himself, he didn't have a lot of bargaining power going into that. And yet we know the skill and experience this team can bring. So a team that for sure has a lot of potential. You can really never count them out, and a good zone team as well when they get into the right spot.
TSM, this is what we spoke about. They're going to be moving slowly but surely. They're going to gain a little bit of speed with the redeploy now. But this evac tower is going to do one of two things. Either put them in a danger zone, because they might not necessarily be sure of where teams currently are. They just hit the survey beacon, so they will at least know this is going to be a comfortable move. But teams can move whilst they are rotating. That is always going to be their concern. Is anyone going to walk in their path? But they should be able to comfortably get on the southeast side here and then play over towards launch site.
All right, now we see SKD Mark trying to find their mark in game number 2. 52 players left, 18 squads. We've rotated all the way south. It hasn't caused the same level of chaos, and I wonder if this is just going south a little bit easier on World's Edge. Some of the toughest spots to rotate through. Think about going through Geyser, trying to get through a lot of these chokes. Up north, very difficult. A lot of the open space of Epicenter with those high grounds to pick you off. But we've had 18 teams basically make it into what is not the final zone, but pretty close to it. Round 3 about to commence here. And, you know, as you continue to look at these lineups, I'm really loving the Fuse. I mean, I really am finding that is my new favorite pick that teams are running. And I love it just because you do get to take advantage of the opportunities of being aggressive. And that is something that is very counter to the Catalyst play that we see happening right now.
Yeah, I think the only downside for Fuse, and you know, there isn't really many downsides, is if you don't get to blue fast enough when you have a ring console around, can you benefit from the choice of being able to use said ring console? But most of these teams now have got so good with their pathing, finding the Evo Harvester, getting up to blue, easy peasy, that it doesn't really become a problem whatsoever. And I think it was something that we saw mentioned. Fuse is going to be popular, and it's going to get more and more popular as people realize the damage that he can do in a lobby, not with just the information gained, but also those grenades and the knuckle cluster are brutal when you are stuck in certain scenarios.
McLovin, Rambo, and the squad rotating out. Furia. Some shots from Vaxlon. Recently joined Madness and Keon, and they took him away from being the intern. I think that was the joke at the time. And now trying to make a position. I like this spot here, playing off the edge of tree and really being able to rotate up. A few buildings there. This actually is a decent bit of height. I've seen it sometimes pull that direction. They're not really able to take too much advantage of it right now. But if you look at where LG is positioned, And you look at where, you know, teams like TSM are positioned. They're fighting two different battles. One, you know, really no edge to play against, and just all back clear and everybody looking in front. LG holding a very precarious spot where they can rotate, but they've got Temper in front of them. They've got NGNL Esports and the Edgers behind them. And so it's gonna be tough. They've got a lot of work to do both on the offensive front and the defensive front to hold out these teams who want to move in past them.
This is going to be a very difficult circle for a lot of these teams, Evan. I mean, Liquid Alienware are going to be happy, Native are going to be happy, so are SKD, maybe Complexity, but everyone else, it's going to be one of those scenarios where you have to push your way through a team because there's a lot of open ground. Very similar to what we saw in match number 1. There are teams that are really going to struggle in finding any position to call home. LG, again, down to just 2. Now, Sweet was able to get second place as a 1. Can they do something as just a duo here? At least they're going to be able to survive for now, but you can see NGNL and Temper are basically on the hunt here, looking to try and clean up the pieces of LG.
And Sweet now fighting again with 2 players. It seems like what LG need to do is just make it into a top 10 here or top 7, just all 3 alive, because you could put your money on them without any lack of confidence. They know what they need to do to get it done, and obviously the Edgers as well have been a team that positionally are going to force LG into some different positions of how they're able to play. Temper's still alive as well, but all these teams, Furia, I mean, playing this side, Dan, it's going to get more and more risky as time goes on because they all have to move, and a lot of teams are just going to wait for this slaughter to happen and pick off the pieces.
Well, just doing some damage. Depressly needs to be careful, and good cover from Hambino to toss out the smoke just to allow them to re-heal. But it's like, even if they win this fight, even if they win this engagement, as LG go down, it's where you go from here, because there are 3 teams above them. A lot of squads that have forced themselves into this position now have found themselves in a very difficult spot. And I really do worry for them if you don't have an evac tower to try and go over them. So then the decision may be, do we instead go for KP? And perhaps that's what the Edges are thinking right now. Elstar doing some work. There will be a trade of knocks, but is it going to be enough?
That's the question Edgers need to find out. Chase Mob with a battery in front of him. He knows 2 teammates down and out. Really not worth fighting, but he's got nothing else to do. And look at the health there. My goodness, one good grenade. I mean, that could do it. Chase Mob going to get out of there knowing as well that maybe Furia bit off a lot and still communicating with the teammates as well, saying, yeah, okay, they're low. You might be able to play off this. Chase says, no, not really. And I think that's probably why we saw the Havoc come out and then say, no, I'm not going to risk it. They might be low, but they're not worth fighting, and I don't think I'd win that one. It's Emperor going to get Juvian back in, and this is what I was talking about, Dan, the great rotation, the great migration. Temper doesn't miss a shot call spades there with the car, but it's getting one teammate back, and now all purple stand. Maybe going to have a chance here to rotate, although it's going to be very close.
Very close indeed, but look at everyone trying to escape now the zone to maybe get a position underneath some of these squads, but people starting to drop like flies. Edges will go down. You can see Temper have lost a couple of players. Empire also. Stallions go down. This is just a struggle bus for anyone who wasn't already in this next zone. Eternal can hold the southern side. Complexity are now above like 4 different teams, by the way. There are so many squads on this northwest side that it's unlikely any of them are going to be able to escape and survive once they realize now that they all have to move southeast.
Yeah, this is going to be tough. This cart is good, but for how long? I mean, the fact is, it's going to be everyone's intention to try to get in here, take it for themselves, but then they're going to have to move in another 50 seconds. And so, yes, this is going to be good for now, but what do you do 2 steps from now? And that's what all of these same teams have been doing, Dan. It just feels like everyone's a little bit too late. And meanwhile, it's distracting us from maybe the story here, which is TSM and Furia fighting, and Furia getting the better end of that trade. There's just one left alive. It might be Zapto. We know Evan is down, and it's Furia who are in surely the god spot in a building where the zone is rotating. And so Furia have gone from all that madness, and that quick rotation put them in a spot to win this game.
Well, at least Reps was able to escape for TSM and might be able to survive for a little bit longer if Furia allow that to happen. With no pressure from any other teams, though, Furia may have time just to drop down and finish off the remainder of TSM, but they're unlikely to give away that position. Now, our attention does turn to the northwest for good reason, because Oblivion, SKD, Board, Complexity, Cloud9, and Flat, pretty much, all are going to have to move from north to south here, and maybe one of them survives, if anyone, because you're going to have Furia and Flat and Eternal all looking that way, and it is going to just be trying to run and trying to avoid the incoming bullets here.
And now play on the low ground. I actually like this. This will open up a lot of options just for a rotation, not taking too much attention, and that's all you want. You know you got to go through the same path 8 other teams have to go through to get to the promised land. You just don't want to be first out. You don't want to be what everyone's eyes turn to. This is where strong mobility characters like Valk Horizon give you that potential. Even a Pathfinder, it's weird, but we've seen it used today, and it's worked. Gives you an opportunity to get out of this skirmish, but not right now. Even with the Catalyst walls, there is only one direction to go for these teams, and it's forward. SKD Mark maybe say, well, we might as well take this fight, and my goodness, dropped. Oh, you didn't drop a second, my friend. You dropped bullets onto them right there, and you've got barely any health. The zone moving in, the knockdown shield blocking away, and maybe, just maybe, a huge play here from Dropped. And I think a medkit here, Dan. I think you hit the medkit. There's 2 players alive.
2 players alive, a Devo in hand, and a potential for Drop to do something, but only 3 squads remain. Furia are on the high ground watching all of this, and arguably should win this game from this position. As soon as they see anything in the kill feed, they're gonna get involved. Drops can help Furia win this game, but Flat still have a full 3 here, so SKD have to be careful. They go down. Now Furia, they make their move.
They make their move. They transition early enough to the God spot, and they walk down amongst the mere mortals to claim what looks like to be an easy victory. Furia get furious in game number 2, and you gotta love it because, man, that was a game of chess, not checkers. It was strategy to get to that position, and Furia, they played it perfectly.
And most importantly, deleting TSM when they had to. That was one of the biggest moments in that game. They take down members of TSM. They chase them away to force them down. And Reps, as the lone survivor, he wasn't really going to be a true threat in the end. He was in such a vulnerable position that Furia could just leave him there, focus on the rest of the lobby. But the lobby kind of focused on themselves. It was what I was talking about from that northwest side. Everyone had to move at the same time. They're all doing damage to one another. And then it's about picking up the pieces if you're one of the teams that was in the zone. And that was Furia. That was Flat. But Furia had the high ground.
It certainly did. And, you know, I think that this is one of those games where there's a lot to it, and it's very difficult to parse through the good fighting and just being in the right position. I think Dropped, I mean, you look at the shots on that Devo and you look at the follow-up, even getting that first knock by himself, almost being able to swing. It's a matter of timing and knowing. He doesn't have a Bloodhound scan to know exactly where they are, to be able to swing that perfectly. So I think he does the best with what he's given. It's just a numbers advantage at that point. And also the fact that Furia are patient. Furia don't jump in. They see it's Dropped, but why do they need to go there unless they know that they're going to be able to immediately eliminate him? They wait till they fight a little bit, then they rotate down. I mean, overall, again, the story for me is Furia. I think they're a team that still has a lot to prove, Dan, and they played that really, really perfectly from all the moments of TSM you mentioned to even that final circle.
I think it's a situation where everyone has something to prove now. I think as soon as you get to a part of a split where we've seen team changes, we've seen people start to make a decision that is going to change their entire roster, you have to prove yourself, whether that be getting to LAN or then when you get to LAN, are you succeeding? Are you doing better than you did than your previous team? But for Furia, there is going to be a lot of eyes on for sure. And now finding that victory is going to put them in a great position. 24 points, 12 kills on the board. They had an excellent game.
I love, you know, a lot of these scores because this looks a little bit more like what we saw in Europe today and in EMEA today with the 10s across the board, even all the way down to complexity. Board get a good placement, can't quite follow it up with the kills, but pretty much all of our top 7 teams have taken quite a few kills, gotten good placements, and it's put them in a good position. We'll have series standings in a second, but let's go to the back page and see of our bottom 10 performing teams. Anybody had a standout? No. This is the difference, though. Really here, not a lot of points spread out. You see Native Gaming getting a few. We saw, you know, the IGLing of Arcane talking about it, how, you know, this is something that, you know, they've got to play around with the POI drafts to get his best map and give them the best chance. Empire Gaming, formerly 8th Gang with 3. But it's not going to be enough. DSG with a big 0, and so LG with a 1. Maybe bigger stories on the back half that we'll take out. But talk to me about Furia and Flat. They had great games here, Dan, and it could have been either one.
2 very different positions as well, one on the north, one on the south. Furia had more cover, so they were able to kind of peek out, and perhaps that's why they have that extra amount of damage. Yes, they've got more kills. Flat had to be very big. They had to spread themselves out and do damage to teams to stop them from being pushed. They could have certainly been caught in the crossfire as all the other teams started to arrive in that final moment, and they kind of were, because they didn't win the game because of it. They got pushed in the end by a couple of other teams, and they also couldn't really get to Furia. That was the trouble. There was just so much open area. They had to take that fight from a distance, and sadly, Furia just picked their moment correctly.
And here it is, TSM, even though not in that final fight, and you could see the position they would have been had they were in that final fight, Dan, which is the game-winning position, they still got 10 points off of that. So they stay in the lead with 32. Furia with a big win, almost even things up with 30. Complexity, Eternal, EC, and Flat, the three teams right behind them, rounding out our top 5. Dan, what stands out to you as we see our leaders after 2?
Well, I think that Disguised, they had the zone coming to them. I'm saying I want to see something a little bit different. Are they going to be able to bounce back from their first match week? At the moment, not going so well, but there are still 4 games to do so, Evan.
Well, so much to do here in the near future, and one more game on World's Edge. We'll see what happens, but first, we'll go to a quick break, and we'll be right back with more ALGS.
To the North American Pro League, everybody, the ALGS is throwing a few spanners in the works today. My name is Rain Day. Alongside me is Rain Day. It was great to hear from Rain Day earlier in the previous game. That was one of my favorite moments in ALGS history, by the way. It was the second wave that got me. When he got past it, it was all good. He locked back in, and then it went again. It was amazing.
I want to give myself some credit because somehow I managed to not break at the same time. Someone had to be professional in that moment, right? But boy, was it an incredible scenario, because it doesn't happen often that Rain Day breaks. Anyway, we get to look back at some of the highlights from match 2. And obviously, Mark, you weren't casting it, but you were able to watch it in the wings. A very difficult circle for everyone to get involved with yet again, because there's just so much open space, very little playable area.
Yeah, I mean, this play, by the way, at the end from Dropped, I thought for a second he was going to pull out one of the plays that we talk about as one of the ones that stands out in ALGS history. There was a real opportunity for him to clutch this up. You see, in this moment, he swings out. He knows there's a res coming in, but I don't know if he got caught between trying to finish the down, trying to re-down that player, or just taking the 1v1 and then thinking about doing something off the back of it. But it was such a great play to watch. The Devo doing what the Devo does, right? You go for that care package weapon for a reason. It is the great equalizer when you're down numbers, but it's Furia who won that previous fight up on the platform against TSM that do come out as our winners. But TSM, they won game number 1, so they're not going to feel too disheartened as we head into match number 3 now, the final one on World's Edge.
Yeah, TSM still leading in the overall standings, so they won't be too bothered by it, but it does mean that Furia are hot on their tails, and they have to be careful, still have to be consistent, but it was a big win when Furia did take down the majority of TSM to give them said position in match number 2.
Well, here we go then. Match number 3 is live. Like I mentioned, the last game on World's Edge before we flip over to Storm Point for our final 3 of the day. And When we look at zone, it's always our first point of conversation, and it looks like we might have a little staging, maybe a landslide zone. We might even be going towards Lava Fissure.
It could be all the way on that western side for sure, which would be good news for LG, who have been playing very successfully today as well. Not the best of news for all those teams on the southeast. Liquidanium, where potentially could shadow disguised, hit a survey beacon, and then keep moving. Depends on how they want to path themselves. You can see there is an Evo Harvester dead center of launch site as well, so that could be the journey for them.
One thing that is good to point out for the teams who, we were wrong. Maybe it is going to be a landslide, maybe another drill tower finish here, as we do see the zone go away. And this is, again, one of those zones, right, that you're looking at and you go, no, I hope we have ring console. And I was going to mention that for Temper and LG, who initially I was thinking are in pretty good spots where this zone might go, they have both ring console and the survey beacon. So they're going to have the info they need. They're not going to be caught off guard by this. But a team like Oblivion, I'm not sure if they do have a ring console over at Countdown. We'll have to wait and see when those players do move away a little bit. But Native Gaming, they do have a little bit of information. They are already heading north.
Well, Native Gaming might try and do exactly what they did in match number 1. Remember when they took down Oblivion, because Oblivion had already got to the outer areas of the Vault Tunnel, and then instead we saw Native Gaming kind of just get there in time to take them down. Native now probably have the jump on them here, because as you mentioned, they have ring console. Are Native going to go for that play? Are they going to keep going north, or are they just going to reside here? It looks like they might be happy to take this drill here.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we can always say about these trucks, I talk about them a lot. I have a love-hate relationship with these trucks. One thing is, if you have a Watson, it's much easier to hold because you can get that gen down. It kind of negates a lot of the grenades that are going to be flying in, but so many angles that you can be approached from. And the worry is, if you get smoked inside and you get that gen destroyed, then if one Bloodhound scan and all of a sudden you're in a really, really rough spot. Well, speaking of rough spots, you can see that Eternal, they're already in a little bit of a rough spot themselves, although they did manage to get a little knock. So this fight is a little bit closer than initially we thought.
Yeah, it is close. It's a 2v2, but you can see Carter gets finished. And that will mean that if they win this fight, it might be a struggle to get back up. Great shots though with the R301. Flat do get eliminated. And now Eternal, well, the good news is there is a respawn beacon right here for them. And it's like Carter never left.
Yeah, it's like, come back, buddy. We got you some loot. And he's like, oh, sorry, I got out of bed a little bit late, but thanks for that. Easy win there for Eternal in the end. I say easy, it wasn't easy whatsoever. It was a tough fought battle, but the res beacon being there is very good news for them. Looking elsewhere, NG now, they've already moved down to the northern side of where the zone is going to be. Complexity are there. LG have overtaken Oblivion as well. They're inside a Countdown, so a lot of teams already getting there early, and I think this is one of those zones that you're always looking at as like early priority is vital because of, again, a lack of playable positions. So if you're there early, fantastic. Otherwise, I think the best way to work is probably the Countdown way. Rotate from Countdown, maybe through Monument and come through those chokes late, but we know there's going to be a lot of traffic on that side, and some of that traffic is already here over at Respawn Village, and all these teams who are fighting, taking shots at each other, they're going to be moving through those chokes a little bit later on.
Yeah, all three zones here on World's Edge have been difficult ones to play with lack of playable space, which almost emphasizes the importance of getting into one of the best positions early, because then you can play from it, and then you can get a good amount of kills from teams that are just arriving late and just kind of whimpering into the zone. We see it happen far too often where teams will just be like, okay, well, we can move here, but then where do we go? All right, we can move to this next section, but now we're in trouble from here. Eventually, that team probably fluffs out with 1 or 2 kills and very little placement points. So you need a better idea and a better reaction time of when you get that zone information.
Well, Complexity want to take this fight here against Native, and this is the worry, right? If they get smokes in, they get that gen broken, then it might be easy pickings, and hey, look at this, easy pickings, shield damage coming in. Lou is going to hit fire. He's going to zoom in as well a little bit to get that damage, and Native Gaming get run over. It's the only way to put it. It's why I don't like the trucks. It's why they're playable, but early, I always question it.
Well, LG having a look at it, though. They're saying, well, a team's weak here, and they might be able to take down Lou. They do. And that means Complexity now have lost 2, and it's just going to be Monsoon left to try and escape. But LG capitalizing on that fight that was taken at the truck, and I think that, I mean, in reality, Native Gaming are going to be a bit pissed off about that one. They were saying, well, why are you pushing us? Why are you taking that fight? You're just putting yourself in a bad spot.
Well, it was a very easy fight for Complexity. I don't think that was the worry too much. It was just the, I think you got to give credit to LG for recognizing the fight and closing that ground so quickly. And by doing so, they are able to catch Complexity off guard so quickly, pick up those KP, and I think an important moment there for Sykes as well. He got one of those kills. I think he's gone down first twice for LG in the fights that they have taken. So for confidence, a very important moment for them. Liquid Alienware, they're looking confident as they're taking on Empire.
Yeah, they are full sending it onto Empire. There is one player who comes out of nowhere, though, to even things up, but not for much longer. Jaguares gets the job done. Empire will fall. 17 squads now remain. Liquid Alienware continue to be a very threatening fighting team and a little teabag onto the death box as well.
So Liquid Alienware will get to reset. The wonderful thing about winning a fight inside of the building, the natural cover that provides allows you a few shield swaps, a little bit of time to get those med kits popped before you have to re-engage again. So a very, very good early fight here for LG. Elsewhere, C9, who we saw over the respawn village a few moments ago, well, they're heading towards the assault bin. They want to pick up a few attachments, get a little bit more evo that way before they approach this zone from the east. And this is, it's going to be an interesting path, I think, to follow here for Cloud9 as well, because they might think about wrapping through the train tunnel and trying to approach the zone from the southern side, but I think they'll probably, that is their best play for the position they have at the moment, because they'll know that there'd be teams like NGNL, TSM, Edges, who already would have beaten them to those chokes from their natural POI landing spot. So the tunnel is probably, I would say, place number one for them to try and play. But later on, I would say, if they see a fight breaking out up there, I would try and move up and third party that.
Depends if Cloud9 saw Monsoon exiting that train tunnel, by the way. If they did, they will know it's likely the train tunnel is clear, because a rat has escaped from there. They're probably running away from something on the other end, though. Whether that would change their mind remains to be seen. Circle is going to shift even further north, I imagine, which could be a detriment for Cloud9 if they do decide to take that tunnel. But when you see a circle like this, I think the expectation has to be it is going to go further north. That does mean the likes of NGNL are going to be in one of the better spots. TSM actually in a really good position on that northeast side as well. They'll be comfortable for quite some time.
Yeah, LG are going to be able to hit that ring console as well, so they have control of that. I'm interested to see if they hit the survey beacon as well, or if they think the information that they have is going to be enough. Elsewhere, a little bit further away from the zone, we're going to see Disguise trying to take a fight over at staging a moment. Eternal's going to be the team on the other side of this. You can see Designful, first port of call is always just to clear those Watson fences away. They can be so pesky if you're trying to hit a flank and you just have to get held up by 1 or 2 extra seconds. But Disguise at the moment, they don't have the scan by the looks of things through that smoke to get that initial damage down.
These guys need to win a fight here. They need some confidence back into their gameplay. Being backed off at the moment, and Designful has taken too much damage. And Carter, back from the dead, like a phoenix from the ashes, is now doing the damage. And Eternal are going to clean up Disguised here, you imagine. Yes, they will. Another early exit for Disguised here on set. And Eternal have done very well in their fights. It has to be said, really targeting successfully.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of conversation about the Havoc, right? You know, is the mag a little bit too big, especially if you get some of those attachments? Can you fire a little bit too, you know, I would say freefully if you needed to? Well, we've just seen an example of it. Carter goes in, he clips Designful, he clips Timmy as well, and then he's just sliding out to see if he can get all 3 kills to himself. Fantastic shots coming in from him with that Havoc, and just showing that mag and the amount of ammo that you can shoot before you have to reload is one of the reasons that Havoc is so popular.
Well, Cloud9, we mentioned that they might go through the tunnel here. I think they're going to play edge. They might have got indication that someone was going to be arriving from the southeast. Well, it is Liquid Alienware, but I don't think Liquid Alienware are actually going to move towards Cloud9. Instead, they are shadowing board. They have found a team, they have seen a team, and of course, having the Bloodhound, you are going to get that information from the footprints as well. So they are following said team, and maybe they're able to be able to surprise board from behind here.
They're trying to move up. They want to be aggressive, but it looks like they haven't really got anywhere to be aggressive on. They're going to choose to hit the survey beacon instead to see where everyone else is playing for now and what spots are going to be open for them.
Let's go that way.
And now they decide to take their approach. Nizzle's going to take a little bit of damage as he slides out, as you would be expected. And one thing to worry about a little bit here, maybe for Liquid Alien, where you're looking at the inventory, and Nizzle's only got 3 cells left, so they're looking probably to take a fight here, not just for the sake of taking the fight to get the EVO up, to get the points, but also for some loot.
That's one of the downsides of Dome, right? The loot isn't great, and yes, they've been able to get themselves up to purples and loot on their way. But have they been able to share loot around? It's got all right for Yanya. He's got 12. Spread the love, my friend. Give some cells to someone else. As now EEC, Eternal are on their hunt for a fight once more. They seem to be kind of living and breathing these engagements right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe confidence is a double-edged sword, because they fly in through a bang ult, barely do anything. Get taken down, and now you're going to see Carter. I think this is a 1v1, actually, and they might actually come out on the good side of this, but he needs to hit his shots. There's still one player alive somewhere. The question is, where?
Well, the pings are coming through. He's obviously in the zone somewhere, but the zone is going to play a part. Have to syringe here, otherwise you're just going to die. Does the other player get the syringe off? Yes, this is just going to be a syringe fest.
Medkit's going to go down. We'll be able to get this one off. It's timed perfectly. Question is, what's next? See that Jalone's trying to make sure that knockdown shield is going to be taken out, and Carter now has to run. There is still one knockdown for him to play. But also, now he's going to lose that high ground. The knockdown is going to be everything here. You can see both players trying to play around it. The cat cues are going to go out to try and force him out. Jalone with a chance to clutch here, and clutch he does. It will be Stallions who survive, but at what cost?
Both banners are grabbed. Meds need to start being popped. Syringe has to be used instantly if you want to survive in this one. And if they are able to get out, they'll have to go through the red and then try and approach from that southern side. The good news is if they get into the vault, you are safe in the vault area, but that circle is then going to force you through the likes of LG and potentially Cloud9. So it could be an early demise for Stallions. They do have a mobile res, by the way. You can see that's just been popped on the map on the southern side. So Stallions are going to get back up to a full 3.
Looking at where that zone is going, it's not only going north, you can see it's got east as well. So pulling towards TSM, who are in pretty much the only building which is safe. So TSM are set up for another very, very good game. The cards they've been dealt so far have been very, very good for them. They made good on it in game number 1, managed to turn that one into a win. Excuse me, game number 2, if I'm not mistaken. Game 1, excuse me.
Game 1, yeah.
That was right. And now they've got a chance to do it again here. And I like how they're spreading themselves. They're kind of positioned around the beacon building, but also you can see that they trying to take the train station as well. Furia, though, they're making their rotate. Let's jump into the comms and see what their move is.
I'm gonna focus right now.
Yep.
Safe on me right now.
Super safe on me too, guys. Just chill.
Yeah,
low key.
I'm just charging. I'm just charging my shit. Just charging my shit. Was there a team landside that has to walk in?
Hell is team's
Everyone has to walk
landside.
in. Everyone has to.
Team flying.
Flying in.
Under us.
Catch fry.
Catch one.
Yeah. We can't do anything about it.
Look, guys. Oh, wait.
Where?
Verts.
I'm batting. Watch for verts.
I'm looking for kills. Look for kills, RV.
Oh, look at the same ninja. Look at the same. Everyone look at the same thing.
Yeah, I'm looking RV with you guys.
Both sides. Wait, other left RV is better for kills.
Yeah, other side.
Burn it. Come left. Another grenade. We're fine. Nice.
Right side.
60 on him. Hit him 100.
Yeah, I'm looking for a nade on him.
I'm
Nade on him.
Yeah, grenades. Look with guns. No, I can nade that one again.
Wait.
Can we look for an opportunity on lower, maybe? We need to kill lower, guys. Wait.
No.
If we let them live, do they shoot under?
I mean, yeah, they have to end. We can play late on this.
Dude, what if we get to town?
How many?
There's no way to do that with the team directly under us, bro.
88 on the blood crossing in the open.
We need to just get kills.
You
We're
don't
playing for
watch-
kills.
wait.
Bro, them and these fucking grenades. We need to kills, guys. You understand me?
Yes.
All kills. We're gonna get these 2 kills. Get these 2 kills over there, and then we're gonna kill the 3 under and then die.
It's a full 3, I think, over here.
Okay.
But
Somebody
yes,
look self or
we
anything?
have to kill them. No, I have my pack.
Oh, never mind.
Vax, when they get pushed out of that hill, you should bang ult them.
Yeah.
Bang in the open, bang in the open. No.
40.
Coming back.
Dude,
Yeah,
where
full
is
heal.
my shots going?
We need to make sure we're full heal for this.
We could play for that after too.
Yeah, we gotta play for right side. Yeah, we gotta play for right side because this team's up here. Kills, guys. Kills only. 7 points. Kill far. Get any kills we can far, and then we gotta wipe under.
88 on one.
Target over there.
They're shooting under. If one gets knocked or something, we should take advantage of it. I think we should drop from like.
They smoked.
Focus.
80 on the blood.
No, I don't. I just used it, bro.
Okay.
Watch
Watch
nades.
the arcs, it's fine.
Chill.
We can still kill them in the open. They're a Watson team.
Yeah, throw your bang ult down.
Yeah, I can't see them.
88 on the
Yeah.
board if you guys have nades. 3 kills right
I
there.
do.
Right there.
We gotta drop. How you bottle?
Bingo thing in front of us.
Okay, jump
Go
on
right.
that guy. Jump on that guy.
Shoot him in the back. Shoot him in the back.
No, bro. Fuck. Tap me if you can. Keep pushing forward. Get kills, guys. Kills.
Trying.
I'm just shooting them.
There's only 2.
Yeah.
There's only one. There's only one.
No, no, it's only one more. Tap me. Tap me.
Tap me. Tap me.
And Furia will go down as they pick up some KP on their way to zone, but LG still alive here, Dan.
Yeah, LG are still alive, are in a good position on the southern side, but it's going to be SKD who can really take advantage of the position they find themselves in. They might get aggressive, and they will get aggressive onto LG now here.
Skiddy's trying to move in here. Easy flank coming in with that Havoc from Shuby. And now it's just about cleaning up the 1v1. The spray is going to be good. LG will be eliminated as the Skiddies continue on their way forward. They should be able to get this res as well, but here's TSM overlooking this as well.
The Skiddies continue to leave their mark on the lobby as TSM, they will be watching over them. And Complexity, by the way, a solo Complexity member, Monsoon, is dead center of this circle, so he could really influence how this final circle is going to go. You've got Cloud9, Liquid Alienware, and Board, who are all on the southeast side.
Also, Monsoon's got a Kraber, by the way, and earlier on he managed to almost 1v3 Liquid with it. He got 2 knocks, wasn't able to get the finishes, but look at the kill feed. He's doing it again now as a solo with that Kraber. Monsoon is a human highlight reel.
You give him a Kraber, you give him a Sensor, it doesn't matter. Give him a Sniper, give him something that can hit heavy. 5 squads now remain, so Monsoon has been able to get into the top 5 by helping Board on that southeast side. Cloud9 may be going to be the next target for Board if they can survive, but I think it's only a solo there as well. Likelihood is we're looking at a TSM versus Skid fight here, and the winner of it could be in prime position to take this game.
Don't forget about Monsoon. I'm just saying, he's got a Kraber. If he didn't have the Kraber, I wouldn't be saying that. Board still have 1 alive as well, but TSM, this is the big fight for them. Burhol still has his ult available, and now he's going to throw it down. The Rolling Thunder should slow down this push, and also Reps is just going to be harassing with the Knuckle Cluster as SKD try and move through. And this is so smart from TSM. They're just forcing them away. They don't really want to kill them immediately. They just want to force them away from the position that they're holding. However, the banger comes in from TSM, and it's going to be Reps on the fuse again, who is hitting the big nades.
Hitting the nades, and it forced them towards Cloud9, but Cloud9 now heading to center zone, but TSM have this north side. The worry is Monsoon. He is very close to TSM, but they don't know it at the moment. Of course, do have the Bloodhound, so the likelihood is they will spot Monsoon shortly. Doesn't matter. Monsoon goes down. No highlight reel for him in the final circle, but I'm sure there were some big shots here earlier. Cloud9 now lost one as well. Here comes TSM and Cloud9 to have a fight.
It's the solo coming in behind Cloud9, who might have just thrown their game, trying to pick up 1 KP, and that just creates an opening now for TSM. Board will be taken down. It is going to be MJ as that solo. Now it's going to be C9 versus TSM, but C9 are only down to 2. TSM looking for their second win out of 3 games here as Verhulst will close it out. TSM, 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3, and looking in fine form are TSM at just the right time. You're right, the solo did impact it, but it wasn't the solo maybe we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be Monsoon on Complexity. Instead, it was the member of Board that locked down one of the players on Cloud9 and just allowed TSM to have a dominating position from that northern side. But they held that position for a lot of the game. They saw that ring was slowly pulling towards them. The big win for them was making sure that Skid couldn't actually find their way onto the north. They forced them down to the south, where they instead were griefed by the likes of Cloud9.
Yeah, very, very impressive stuff from Reps again on the fuse, right? He's just using the knuckle clusters to force them away and then saving that frag grenade for that moment as well. The damage was done, and then that frag grenade, you just saw all sorts of numbers jumping up, and it's a very, very good feeling when you're that player who does that much damage and knows that you're influencing that team moving away from your game-winning spot. We'll bring that back Rain Day to join myself, Rain Day, and of course you, Rain Day, to talk through what we have
Don't
seen.
even try. Don't even
TSM
try.
TSM 2 out of 3.
To do
TSM
that.
2 out of 3. That's the story.
Yeah. And honestly, they're close to that. Oh my God, you did not really.
No,
you did not try to do that. I'm okay. The story about it is TSM, and we hit up that drama earlier, right? And I think this is the only thing that's setting this up better is the fact that there is no Falcons in this lobby, because that's what most people watching this are saying. If they were doing this in a lobby with Hal and Zero and Jin Burton, how crazy would this be? But it's just the fact that they are doing this in a lobby at all, where a lot of people were let's admit it, unsure about what the future would hold for TSM. Well, what a resounding answer. And I think this is, again, I'm bringing up EMEA because it just happened, maybe like the way 07 answered our questions. I think TSM has certainly answered our questions, guys, of whether they've still got it. They've still got it, and maybe even then some. And now it's a matter of how consistent they can be, because once we see these points, I'm looking at them right now. I want to show you after 3 games. I mean, these are some points that'll get you to maybe top 4 on the overall day. So pretty impressive stuff. And I think, Mark, looking at the takeaway too, roles are swapping as well, which is also an opportunity to highlight some of the players who have to take on maybe a little bit more responsibility in this squad, and allow others like Zap to come in and fill a role that he's comfortable with.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see like who is playing what legend, right? You've got Verholst, who's on the Bangalore, which historically is not a legend that he's played much, but I like the freedom that it gives him. I think if I'm being hypercritical maybe about Evan and Verholst and the way that he's played the game previously, and this is not a detriment to him because it's the role he's been asked to play. He's always been that secondary slayer, right? Sometimes he's had to play the anchor on TSM before. And when Reps has had to play a legend which is needed to be played, or was believed to needed to be played on mouse and keyboard, like Bangalore, for example, to get the precision of those smokes. But I think if you give someone like Verholst like Dan said, you let him off the leash, you've seen how insane he is when it comes to those individual fights. He isn't going to lose many of them. He's going to create so many openings for you, and Reps on the fuse, he can do what he does best, which is be that anchor. He can be the one who forces teams away. He can get that opening damage from a distance, and then they can kind of flood and capitalize on it. So I love the role swap here for TSM. I think it's working for them, and obviously it's working for them. 2 wins out of 3 games is a fantastic start for them.
And you can see just 17 points. It's the right direction, and it's at the right time. It's a World's Edge dominant performance. And as we look, Cloud9, Complexity, going back to this main story, Dan, I mean, how do you feel overall when you look at North America and you look at TSM and the way that they were able to draft today? They did get the 4th pick. They did go Climatizer East with this. Do you think, as we look at page 2, that has anything to do with the strong start we're seeing?
Absolutely. If you do have one of the earlier picks, you are going to be in one of the stronger POIs, but you have to make it count. We spoke about it on the EMEA show. There was a few teams who didn't make it count when they had an early draft pick, but that does mean because they had an early pick on World's Edge, they're going to have had a much later pick on Storm Point. So get the points in early when they are there, and when you have zones like that, they give you the opportunity to do so. And now you can kind of scramble for a few points and try and get some average games on a map that is going to be tougher with the POI that you've been given.
Devastated Coast is where they will show up. We'll talk all that nonsense, though, in just a bit, so don't worry about it. We've got a lot of stuff coming up, especially a fun halftime recap and a special guest. But before we get into that, TSM on top by 17 points. Incredible performance. 49 total points just after 3 games, having won 2 out of 3 already. They are on their way to one of the only bonus points we've seen across the split since they've been introduced as well. Got to give a shout out, though, to Eternal EC, because in that last game, they had a tremendous amount of kills. It's jumped them up. You could see the placements with just 7, Mark. The 20 kills, that's a match for the highest number of kills in the lobby today with TSM, and that's put them in a position for 5th place.
Yeah, a lot of kills. That is a lot of kills across 3 games. It's almost weird to see that many kills with placement points, because obviously they've been winning a few fights early on in the game, but then not being able to make it to endgame, which is a somewhat surprising. But hey, who cares how the points come, right, as long as they're on the board.
And I love that different specialty, too, and leaning into it as well. EEC see an opportunity, and they're going to be happy if they finish 5th. I'm sure that's a pretty decent performance on the day. But someone who knows all about that, what it means to feel happy about a performance, what it means to need to work on a few things, and what it means to sign back to one of the glorious orgs that have been a part of Apex since the beginning and now return, it's the man Nocturnal himself. Or should I say NRG Nocturnal? It's still weird to say that, but I'm happy to say it. Welcome to the show, buddy. And I think we have you muted, and I love that. We're building suspense.
Oh, I am muted. Sorry.
There you go. Hey,
yeah, glad to be here.
It's all part of the plan.
Still weird to call myself NRG, but you know, we're here, and the crazy 3 games actually, though, I will say.
You know, that's life though, man. You know, we've seen this split really be that thing where identities have shifted. I mean, we've seen it all across North America, EMEA, you know, different orgs coming in and out, changes. That's the way any competitive sport goes. It's great that you're still here representing. I want to talk to you though, before we go into today, about how your process has been with this new team, because yeah, you said it's different and it is a great org, obviously a lot of history in Apex, and you guys have a lot. I think at this point, you've proven so much, but would it be weird to say you have a lot to prove this split? Do the guys feel like there's a statement that you want to make this split coming into split 2 and of course, hopefully at LAN?
I mean, realistically, we just want to, you know, make LAN this time. I'm not trying to be the, you know, the butt end of jokes where we didn't make LAN, you know. It's kind of embarrassing to be in that position. So now, you know, we just want to show up. We just want to play our game. And that's like the biggest problem is that haven't really been able to play our game lately. So now I just want to show up, play, and have a good time. And, you know, if we win, we win. I would love to win even more. That'd make me really happy. But realistically, we just want to show up for energy. Energy is a legacy. It's really hard to pass up what Sweet, you know, passed off the Frex rosters, the Rocker rosters, the Nathan rosters. Like, you know, I know there's a lot of legacy fans who are just like, what are these guys doing here? But we're just trying to make people proud and make ourselves proud at the end of the day, honestly.
I love that. I'm going to jump in now, Nock. Firstly, congratulations, of course, being part of NRG. It's wonderful for you guys. And I want to ask you about how it feels, because it almost looks to me from the outside looking in, this is somewhat of a fresh start. It was a little bit of a rough split for you guys last time around, and it just felt like something wasn't quite right. Something wasn't quite clicking. And obviously, you had to watch from the sidelines. Like you said, it's very difficult to do. But do you feel almost as if the pressure is off a little bit this split, and that you've been through some of the tough times now, and after the first 2 game days, you're like, hey, things are starting to click. We're feeling a little bit more confident and almost like your old selves again?
I wouldn't say like I feel like my old self, because I'm still trying to battle like a lot of my bad habits and get back into the flow of things of doing IGLing and stuff like that. Because, you know, missing out on LAN experience in previous like pro leagues where we started pro league last split with the 18th or 19th, and man, going through that pro league in those couple of months was just absolutely grueling. But now, you know, we have a 5th and an 8th, and we're, you know, pretty comfortable, steady track to go to next LAN. So now we just need to close it out, and I would say the pressure is definitely a little bit off, but my standards are way too high for myself, and I want to do the best I can.
Speaking of grueling, we had 3 pretty interesting zones with a lot of open space to play, and you can talk us through what you saw in each zone. But the first thing I want to ask you is, like, how difficult are some of these zones to play when there isn't much playable space?
I mean, you have to make miracles happen. Like, if you aren't in that team in that favorable position, you have to just use your utility perfectly. You have to have your teamwork perfect. There is just like a nail drop of just anything can go wrong, and most of the time everything will go wrong. Like, you have to prepare for that. And we watch Sweet just absolutely be a tornado in the center of zone as a solo, just knocking out teams left and right, damaging, making everything uncomfortable, especially for complexity. And then TSM, you know, swoops up, and you just got to account for everything. And if you don't account for everything, you will be blindsided, genuinely.
Yeah, we have to give our hats off to Sweet for that performance, but of course it was an easy cleanup for TSM in the end. The second game, TSM didn't get to the final circle because of Furia. What did you notice from this final circle? Did Furia just play this one perfectly?
Honestly, they played it really well up until about like ring 5, where they overcommitted on the west side, but they played it 95% like perfectly, I would say, and then up that 5% had that like margin of error where they could have definitely got punished, but lucky for them, no one was in that like position to capitalize on them. So realistically, Furia looks really good right now. I'm glad to see it, and hopefully they keep it strong.
And then the third final circle, we saw TSM again find a victory, and of course you were watching. Was there any way they can even throw this one away though? Because it just seemed like everything played to their part.
I mean, it is... I've played these zones before. The top-down angles is quite literally, you have to take your hands off your peripherals and say, okay, we're throwing this game, because it is very hard to lose these games. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I want to kind of get to you as you watch this, TSM are rocking the Fuse, Knock, and obviously that's done well to bring them into first place, 2 out of 3 wins. It's also given them a ton of pressure in these end zones, and the only end zone that they weren't able to win was the one Furia fought them, I think, at about 10th, 11th place, and took that spot, which ended up being the spot that Furia won from. Walk me through your thoughts on Fuse. Is he really a staple in this meta, or is he something that even for 30% of teams is going to be really, really valuable?
I wouldn't even say like 30%, maybe like 10%, maybe. Like it'd be like 1 to 2 teams that could get away with it. Mostly predominantly the trials teams. The trials teams that get gold helmets. If you have a gold helmet on Fuse, it is not fun for the other people. Maybe like thermal most. I know DSG chooses to, or they used to do the Fuse from thermal, but now you have the drafting system. But yeah, Fuse is a terror in multiples. Like if you have maybe 5 to 10, you're not going to have fun in that pro league game. Like it's going to be miserable. But that character creates so much pressure, and if you play it well, who's playing Fuse for TSM? Actually, I forgot off the top of my head.
Reps.
It's Reps, and
Oh,
just a quick follow-up on that as well. We all have questions for you. I think, does Fuse's change here, is that the real thing that let him come in? I mean, the fact that he can scan beacon as well and give you guys information on where the zone is going to be, is that little thing that pushes him over the edge? And do you think little tweaks like that can actually help bring characters into the meta, just small stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, small quality of life changes are always welcome. I feel like if they're not like, overly dramatic buffs where we're making making abilities way too strong, rather than just like, give this character a beacon, that'd be really nice too. But I think Fuse was good in the previous metas. We've historically played him under the old TL roster, I think. Yeah. And we've shown that if you play Fuse from trials, you will, have a lot of fun. Fun makes that character look like a lot of fun too. Yeah, I think for World's Edge, I will say the ring console definitely will help the character be played more. I won't make the lobbies more fun though, I will say. And we saw a historic where TSM originally brought like a Fuse meta where it was like 7 to 10 fuses, and that was not fun. That was probably the worst meta I've ever played.
I'll jump off the back of the Fuse conversation to kind of talk about the POI draft, because there's been a lot of discussion about it, which has been fascinating to watch and listen to and read up on. I want to talk about your preparation now and how it's changed from knowing where you're dropping every single week, working on your macro, working on your rotates, to the amount of time that you now have to plan how you're going to approach game days. How has that changed for you as an IGL with Hodsick as well, obviously being your coach? I mean, what's that sort of pattern been like in developer, and is it something you're still learning?
I mean, it kind of just goes into like 2 playstyles. So if you're in a center position team or center position POI, you drafted a good rotate POI, you can, essentially just rotate to about like 70 to 80% of like decent zones. And if you can't, then you play edge, you play ring 3 beacons, and you see where you can fight in and try to like control your side of the zone. But now it's like you can do it from a multitude of POIs, because you have to play a bunch of POIs. So instead of, going in, you have the set play style, it's very repetitive, very boring. Now you can do multiple play styles, multiple different games. You have to actually think about the game instead of just being in this like prepared mindset every single time. And I absolutely love this draft. Like the draft opens up the game, and hopefully everyone, feels like it's a new breath of fresh air, and it's really fun to play.
Well, we've certainly enjoyed watching it. We've enjoyed watching your performances as well. As you mentioned, an 8th and a 5th. You've taken a break now for the last game, the last weekend. Hopefully you got a little bit of rest, because we kick back off next week as well. But congrats, and we wish you continued success, Knock, and the rest of NRG this split.
Hope to see you next LAN.
All right, buddy. Nocturnal from NRG joining us for the halftime recap. Big stuff there. Thanks for all the analysis and insight. If you guys in the chat enjoyed that as well, go ahead and show them some love in the chat for Nocturnal and all of our pros who give us their weekly analysis. Dan, take a break. You've been casting quite a lot. It's going to be me and Mark here for the next one to kick off Storm Point. And Mark, as we do transition into Storm Point, a lot of good points here to be made. The one I want to go back to, because they are maybe the biggest story so far, is TSM. They are now on their 38th pick, 36th pick overall out of 40 for this lobby on Storm Point. Can they keep it up after having really a top tier pick in World's Edge?
Well, speaking of top tier picks, just looking across some of our draft picks, you can see the board. They've got the mill. That is #1 when it comes to picking things. LG over a Launchpad is a POI they've played from a lot in the past as well. Command Center for Native Gaming is going to be good for them. Essential POI. They love to play zone, so those teams are going to be pretty happy. Also, EEC, Zoo Station is right up there as one of the best as well. I think it's down in number 6 or 7, I think, in the ADP. So it's a pretty strong pick for them as well. I'm always interested to look at the teams, though, that maybe don't have the better picks. I think they're the ones to look at. And if you can make something happen on those game days where you don't have what you would class as maybe a stronger POI, then they're the ones you look back on as maybe the points that were most valuable when we get to the end.
Yeah, and it helps you rearrange your thought process on how you want to approach it. I've seen teams, talk about how they want to pick on a map that they feel they IGL terribly on. This was Native talking about it, saying, we don't feel confident on this map. I don't trust my IGLing as much as I do on the other map. And so we're going to pick a great pick for that to offset it. And there's some people who say, well, let's play to our strengths. We love Storm Point. Let's focus on it. But it obviously means that you put all your eggs in one basket as we get ready for map number 4. Complexity dropping at the wall. EEC dropping right next to Empire Gaming. Zoo Station, Lightning Rod. We'll see if there's some sparks there between those two. Oblivion and Native Gaming in the middle of it as well, trying to climb up the hill or down. Depends on if they want to run into Vanity, who are hanging out at Stormcatcher in the mill. Maybe the best position so far. Nobody to your west, and all of the map to rotate to goes to Boar. We'll see if they can keep it up. Temper, NGNL on your screen as well. And of course, TSM and LG, two big names in the ALGS. They're going to be landing right there next to Liquid Alienware, the Edgers, and Flat. Mark, so many things that can happen. We don't know. That's the beauty of it, though. And another team to mention, Furia. They will be one to watch out for.
They certainly will indeed, especially after that win that we saw on World's Edge for them. One thing I do want to kind of highlight, though, is something that's happening at the north of the map here. And this is a good opportunity for us to look at it once more, because earlier on in EMEA, we saw Alliance taking the Trident, but that was because North Pad was free. So they were able to essentially kind of claim, I'd say, 1 3/4 of POIs before they moved on. But this time it's a little bit different because SKD are going to have a team dropping over at North Pad to contest with. So there might be an early fight that happens there. It's not going to be the best of loot for them, and it looks like they're playing for the Trident, which is going to allow them a quicker rotate. So keep your eyes on the north side of Storm Point here as we head into game.
What an interesting call out. We'll see how it shakes up as we land here from the dropships, the individual one, as we get started with Storm Point. And actually, as we get some information here, we're going to restart this lobby. Thank you all for your patience as well. We're just finding that out ourselves, so it means we get to talk a little bit more of Apex. It means that if you were waiting to use the restroom, you could use it for now 30 seconds, a minute and a half. We'll probably get right in right when you go there. We're not too strict, just you got 2 minutes and then you got to be back here. This is must see ALGS, Mark. I mean, we can't give them too much time, but
it's true. We have to ask for 30 seconds, so everyone else should have to ask as well. So it feels right. We will get back into that match as soon as we can and onto Storm Point. Apologies for the slight delay. You know how these things work, but it does give a little bit more time for us to have a conversation about some of these drops, right, and how things are going to work here. And I'm always interested to see how the mill teams perform, because I feel like the mill is, in my opinion, like I would say, it's almost the Sky West, right, of World's Edge. It's the most significant POI for a number of reasons. One, great loot, great access to beacons, and you've got that Trident near you as well. Also, one thing that's very good is you have pretty close access to the Spider Cave as well if you wanted to grab a little bit extra Evo on your way forward. And also, there's usually some Evo harvesters that you're going to be able to pick up close, but also because you have that Trident, you can scoot around the map very quickly and scoop a couple up. So that accessibility to different areas of the map, different ways to level up your Evo, usually means that not only are you able to rotate quickly, but you're able to leave with information and good Evo. So that's why a lot of the time you're seeing teams go, hey, mill's up. I got first pick. I'm going mill.
You know what? And it's a great point. I mean, when you look at it, it is a good spot. It's one of those contested spots. We see a lot of fights on there. And I was almost just going back to fill in the gap of, we were talking about SKD and we were also looking at MD. It was Not Moist, who are going to be sharing that north side. So again, a different focus of, having areas that maybe you pick last and you now say, well, we're just going to contest this versus take one of the unpicked spots that really don't give you enough. And when we look at ADP, it's average draft position. That means, as Mark, you can go a little bit more into detail of it. These are the ones in terms of average, on average, what position do they get picked out of 40? So the ones at the highest level, they're obviously going to be the ones that are most sought after.
Yeah, 100%. And this is for just North America as well. So this is just for the teams that have played in the lobbies that we've seen in the North American ALGS. This is going to obviously change across regions, but in general, it's going to be pretty similar. And like I mentioned, Mill is going to be up there. Lightning Rod, of course, is going to be up there as well because of the amount of loot that you do get. You also have, I would say, 1.5 POIs worth of loot. Plus, you have the ability to grab a trident if you need to as well. And the great thing about Lightning Rod is if it does go to the north, you have that extreme height. And if it goes to the south, you have the ability to work downhill the majority of the time. And if you hit an early evac tower, you can travel so much of Storm Point and overtake other teams as opposed to having to head uphill, even if you hit that evac yourself. So at the other end, you're seeing, you know, some of the smaller POIs, the likes of Jurassic, which is central, of course, which is great if you're a quick rotate team, but not the best of loot, and it's pretty spread out. So you've got to really kind of take your time to actually loot up before you leave. And if you want to quick rotate and you want to play for zone, that few seconds can really cost you. And then, of course, Trident, which is kind of the outsides of North Pad, between the wall where you have those eggs and you have a little bit of the old AMC armory there as well. I mean, all of those little spots, it's essentially, you kind of, a lot of the ones that you're seeing down the bottom, like Coastal Camp as well, you're kind of sandwiched between two stronger POIs, which means even if you do leave, the likelihood of you having a first engagement is going to be one where you're at a disadvantage due to either loot, attachments, armor, whatever it might be, access to Evo. It just makes it a lot tougher to work from. So one thing I am very hopeful for as we see these stats and this data kind of tally up across the weeks is that it can be presented back to the devs and they can say, hey, why is this being drafted in this way? What can we do to bring some of these other POIs up to scratch a little bit? And I think if that's taken into account, it's just going to make this an even healthier system than it is now.
And when you look at this, right, we have a chance now to do the flip side, Mark, of that analysis and go to EMEA. Is there any difference in what we're seeing? And you could tell that while some of those main picks are certainly from the high part of Mill, you know, even Lightning Rod, things like that, really, really valued. One of the things I noticed that Echo HQ was actually third in the pick at a 7 pick rate, ADP. In EMEA, it is a 24 ADP, which is so interesting, noting that there's a real value in North America over that South Side Echo. And a lot of the reason might be recency bias, because I remember a lot of North American zones ending in Echo HQ. And isn't that interesting to see how some of these things play out in terms of maybe not statistically the best, but we remember all these Echo zones, so we're going to just pick it just in case.
Yeah, I mean, if you're one of the teams who previously landed over at Lightning Rod or one of the other northern POIs, you're probably thinking, do we actually want to drop here? Do we actually want to pick this? Because we know we're probably going to have the southern zone. And of course, like you say, recency bias is a funny thing. It plays funny tricks on your mind, but that's one of the wonderful things about it, right? All these things you have to take into consideration. Remember these teams and these players, they've been playing weeks and weeks of scrims. They would have had a good kind of sample size of where zones are going, where they feel the majority of the zones are going as well, or if there's any that I would say are easier to access from certain POIs, as opposed to, like you're saying, the ones that down the south, which are a little bit more difficult to get to if you are arriving late. So all of these things kind of rolled in. It makes the process fascinating. And I think we might even get to that point at some point where you kind of, there'll be the draft done. And then afterwards, like say a team has a bad day and they'll be going, whose responsibility was it to draft this time? Because you got it wrong.
That's right. And you know what? This is going to be great. When we compile this at LAN and we see all of the regions together over 10 weeks of play, including finals as well, we're going to have an amazing picture. Right now, we're just showing glimpses of what some of the trends are, but it's still very interesting. And really, when you talk about it, what it looks like for a team, it's going to be important to see which teams get their high picks and perform well, a la TSM, who got that 4th pick and performed very well with 49 points in 3 games, including 2 wins, taking Climatizer West. But then on the flip side, are going to have to now play on their 36th pick, which is going to be very, very different for them. Devastated Coast. Mark, they could in themselves, if they just keep having a dominant day, shift the value of Devastated Coast by showing, oh, we got 30 points on average, coming out from Devastated Coast. No, that might just be TSM. A lot of things in terms of the stats may not show themselves and are going to be up to how well these individual teams carry on throughout both maps.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that you kind of start the discussion on with how you ended that little bit there, because you look at TSM, you're looking at, yeah, they played really well, they got 2 out of 3 wins, but they were zones they had really good access to, right? So it's like all of this POI draft is fantastic. It's even better if you get the zones, because that's the one thing that you can't control, right? It's like you can put everything together, like we have this is where we want to rotate it, we feel this is the best place to get to here. We have this loot pool, we have this whatever it might be. But if the zone is the other way across the map, the complete other side, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this is tough anyway, even if we've got a good POI. So that's the wonderful thing about the POI draft system as well, is like you can plan for everything, but the wonderful thing about Apex Legends is you can't always plan for everything. There's always a level of unpredictability that you have to adapt to, and I think it makes it fascinating.
This league is just so fascinating. I was kind of wondering how all the roster mania would impact North America specifically. And obviously EMEA, they had their plenty of changes. But I feel like it's now really opened up the opportunity for us to talk about different storylines, because when you have a few headliners who are kind of always the conversation, the, ones and twos in terms of what you're focusing on as your main beats, it's not that it becomes dry, it just becomes predictable. Yet now when you kind of shift things away, one of the benefits of, the change of taking now what were 2 teams facing off against each other, Dark Zero and TSM and HAL and Zero, and then putting them on the same team, is it opens up new narratives for players to really get focused. And to me, one of the TSM narratives that I'm interested in is how Evan and obviously how Reps, Jordan, really take on this shift in someone jumping into the next level of leader for that team, as it's true that they were the figures who were by Hal's side, but not necessarily leading that team. And I think it would be strange to say they were leading the team. They were key parts of it, but now one of them has to step into the leader. Who is that in that role? How does, Zap fit into that as well? Does he clash? Does he have the right fit? All of these things give us a lot more to talk about. And in that same vein, even outside of TSM, it means that who is going to be that other team to fill in? Is there more parity across North America in general? You look at Furia, you look at Oxygen, who have performed well. You look at Oblivion as well. You look at SSG. Do we start talking about SSG in a way where we look at them spending, being able to actually win land? That's the biggest thing that I think North America has given me this split, Mark. It's that we actually have a lot more stories to cover and really focus on, despite it feeling like, oh no, it's only going to be one story and one thing to talk about. As we continue to fill, ladies and gentlemen, just keeping this conversation going. The lobby's not quite ready yet. We appreciate you hanging in there with us. But yeah, Mark, that I thought was an interesting point and a little bit different than what I expected coming into North America with the announcements of the super team that, of course, is important to mention.
I really hope, by the way, that Falcons give them capes, because I feel like if they're constantly called the super team, it's a real opportunity for the first team in Apex Legends history to wear capes. But I will say on Falcons, everybody's talking about Falcons, the super team, understandably so, right? They have looked phenomenal so far, and there's no reason to say that they aren't going to be one of the favorites going into LAN. But just remember that this is not just a 1-2 region competition. This is the ALGS. Right. Reject Winner Team might have something to say about that as well. They are the current holders of the title of the LAN Championship, the Split 1 playoff. So for Falcons, it's kind of like a win or bust for me, because everyone is expecting them to be number 1, and that comes with its own pressures and own set of challenges themselves. And I will say it's an insane amount of talent on that roster. Number 1 is the only thing that they will be happy for, but they're not playing today. They have to watch on the sidelines. They've done their work in the first round robin, but now it's time for us to watch the rest of the North American teams go at it, because it looks like the lobby is ready.
In North America, it seems like things are dire, but that's because this region are used to winning. They have been the champions nearly at all times, outside of 2 teams in the entire world to hoist the trophy up until January. In APAC North, oh yeah, Reject Winity, they said we are here to stay. And so now what has happened? What has opened up? What has shut down? And what changes will continue on, not just in the match day to day, but in the region? It is a great time to be an ALGS fan, as you get to see who ends up really taking the throne back from them, and who ends up making a little bit of history themselves, maybe forging their own crown. We'll have to find out as we jump into Storm Point here. Game finally loaded. Can we get some, some claps in the chat? I'm happy about it. Let's get going, Mark.
Hey, I clapped down the microphone for you. I don't know if you can hear this, but
Come on, baby.
The gate was off enough. It is good news, everybody. We are underway indeed, and it's good for me as well because my brain got fried because we were reading through the POI draft. We went into that previous game and saw map overhead, and I was like, these teams are not in the right spot, and it gave me a real kind of burst of anxiety. But good news is we are going to see SKD taking the Trident drop spot. You see Not Moist over at North Pad, and we are going to see Launch Pad and the Waterfall area probably going to be where a lot of teams are trying to reside. Great news for LG, who have had, I would say, thanks to Sweet Dreams and that incredible solo performance he had, a very good opportunity to convert some good points in this game as well.
Also noting that a big one, since we were talking about TSM and we see them hovering over us just a little bit at the top of that, is that Mr. Reps has just passed 1,000 kills in the ALGS over his career. So congratulations.
Give him another
Reps.
round of applause for that. That's awesome.
Joins the 1K club, certainly deserving of that.
Yeah, and I mean, Reps is the ALGS. He's one of those players, right, that will always be on the Mount Rushmore, in my opinion, of the ALGS, and to cross the 1,000 kills, especially when he's had to play Legends, which have not been fun to play for the majority of his career. It just shows the caliber of the player, right? And you can see he's still got it, and the chance will certainly ring out across the arenas when we do see him playing again. Have you still got it? Because TSM, if they continue playing the way that they have started today here on Storm Point, then they're going to be right at the top of those leaderboards. Complexity in 4th place overall at the moment. A very good start for them as well. And Dan was saying that he's been impressed with how they've been scrimming, how they've been looking, taking those team fights, and 4th place after 3 games is a good spot to be.
I mean, listen, not a lot of people get a chance to go skateboarding with Complexity on Venice Beach, but I did. And these guys are really, really special. They're special in ways they communicate with each other. They're special in the way that, you know, they have a camaraderie that is rare in the ALGS, but they're also special in taking on Kimchi Lee, adding a coach, going to player, and then being this consistent immediately, whether it's at LAN, whether it's in the first split of the year, or whether it's now in split 2. This is a team that has a lot of promise, and it's just a matter of finding wins. To me, that's the thing that Complexity has always lacked, and they've admitted it themselves, having conversations with Lou saying, listen, we're playing Rampart, but we can't get past top 5. We're in top 5 every game at LAN, but we cannot win a game because we died at Caustics. They didn't solve it at LAN, but they're in the same position here where they're getting great positions, Mark, and obviously they're still looking to solve it. It's not a Rampart issue now, and maybe it's just something that once Complexity figures out, we really can start talking about them as contenders to win this thing.
Yeah, I think their strategy at LAN was an interesting one. It got them through the group stages, it got them to the finals, but then I think it got a little bit exposed when zones started filling up a lot quicker than they were in groups. So yeah, some lessons to be learned for sure, and you can see they've changed that composition, and it's certainly something maybe that they got in the back pocket to try and use in the future if they've got to try and navigate their way through LAN. But firstly, you got to get to LAN, and we might have 2 teams who are looking to do exactly that, fight in just a few seconds time. TSM and LG, they're button heads.
And they certainly want to win this one. It's a nice knuckle cluster, or a knuckle duster, according to Dan, which I like as well. From Fuse, Zap on the Bloodhound, scan up at 9, but he knows where they are just as well. And it's knuckle cluster back. So LG running pretty much the same composition. TSM not really able to take that fight with a Prowler from that distance. LG maybe just saying, let's threaten like we're going to leave and then push. And it looks like it might have caught Zap by surprise here. Going to have to shield battery, and they got to be careful.
Yeah, Zap's trying to get into a position where he can be healthy, stay healthy, and now he's going to have to pop the dogs. As he's going to use this ultimate on the Bloodhound to try and get into a position to maybe capitalize on some damage. Some fantastic shots coming in from that Prowler. And I will say that this is probably the most unenviable position to be in for a player. Replacing Imperial Howl, probably the greatest player the ALGS has ever had. If you're trying to fill those shoes, well, good luck to you. But Zap is trying to show that he can do that.
And this is a devastated Coast problem, right, Mark? We have to talk about the setup of this is not where they wanted to go. This was their 36th pick overall. It was not a desired position, but as a leader in this lobby, TSM feel like they've been able to deal with things well, but they have another team approaching. And it's not just LG, Liquid Alienware around also, and they've got to be careful not to take on more than they can chew, and safely, smartly, they back up. They use the gravity cannon to space, but they're still in this tango between LG, and it doesn't feel like it's, you know, finding its rhythm. It feels like it's kind of hitting a crescendo here and continuing to get a little bit more deadly. And TSM Verholz, oh, he finds that shot right there, and he needs to pop a battery quickly.
Yeah, that was a Sentinel shot, I'm pretty sure, and that hurt. You can see it hit the body, and it really did kind of shake Verholst a little bit. TSM have found somewhere to play on one of the fingers here, but It's I would say, a pretty good decision from all parties to disengage and not overextend. They all knew that it wasn't a straight 3v3. Both NRG, TSM, and Team Liquid recognized that if they were the first to fall in that fight, that it was probably going to be curtains for their game. So TSM have made some really good rotates and decisions here, and that was a lot of the focus, right? Are TSM going to make those quick decisions? Are they going to make the right decisions under pressure? Well, TSM is showing whoever's making the calls right now that they're making the right ones.
Absolutely. A little bit of patience too. Play the long game. Seems like there's a lot of intelligence no matter what. Experience and intelligence. It's very hard to replace those two things. You could replace skill in a way, but it's again also hard to replace work ethic as well. And you know that of those three things, you know, 3 out of 4 things TSM has. They've got the work ethic, they've got the experience, they've got the intelligence. This is a team that's got all of the capabilities. Still got to put it into practice though, and so far so good. It's gonna look like it's a southern zone here. Obviously TSM just staying on their you know, keeping their eyes up on anybody who might be approaching, but they are not moving much because they realize this is where the zone is most likely going to show up.
Yeah, I mean, TSM are playing underneath at the moment. It's a little bit of a, I would say, a ropey position for the long game. A couple of nades. They don't really have a Watson gen to get down. They don't have the composition, which is good for holding this space, but
yeah,
they're going to have to just kind of brute force it. But they're in a good spot when you look at the zone, right? But are they going to be able to hold it when the teams start to arrive a little bit later? Liquid Alienware are in a very, very good position holding down that building that kind of overlooks all the teams that will be stacked up inside a launch pad. I mean, the likelihood is it's going to pull out towards the west side of launch pad into outside of one of those fingers towards the rock formation. So they're going to be overlooking everyone who will be leaving, but one team who isn't even thinking about leaving yet because they haven't yet to arrive is going to be SKD.
Yeah, they're far away as well. This is me on my rank game looking for like that blue mag or something. Just, you know, I can't fight unless. Yeah, I need a stock. You know, I need a barrel stabilizer. You know, I don't like this 2 times. I need a 2x4. Okay, I can't fight until then. You know, listen, let's be honest. You know, we're all a little, you know, I guess. Spoiled with our site choice, and that's okay. You know, Drop going with the 3 times. I love a little Ranger as well, and SKD Mark just getting on the high ground. They know that they're not really early enough to make it into that final zone just yet, Mark, but they're just gonna sit here up on top, wait for these rotations. There is an Evo Harvester nearby as well. They might be wanting to grab. Meanwhile though, big spot here, C9 and of course Liquid Alienware going at it.
Yeah, C9 have the armor advantage here, so they're more than happy to take this fight. They could have tried to force their way in for now, and C9 want to try and rotate away from this, but they're kind of caught between the decision they want to make. You can see, do they want to climb? Do they want to stay low? Do they want to take the fight? And if you end up taking those few extra seconds to make that decision, they're the ones that can cost you, and it has cost them because they've had to expend the ultimate now. The Dark Veil has gone down. That won't be available for a few more minutes, and they have to expend some resources to heal. So Team Liquid saw an opportunity there to try and move in, maybe take that position away after some damage was done, but again, everybody kind of respects each other. Don't overextend. They know that this is the long game here, and they know that after this game, there's only 2 left.
That's so true. Liquid Alienware in 7th place. Overextending would be a problem, but I just have this feeling that they're not content leaving them there. I feel like they do want to pressure this. I'm not sure that they're going to risk it too much. There's already a smoke that goes on it. Was that from Neazul is the question, or somebody else? Maybe even from C9. Either way, they're peeking. They're seeing. Don't take a step out of line. Otherwise, we will be there for you. LG still on height. I like their spot as well. They've kind of fought TSM off of that bridge. And so I really like where they've positioned here. Still 20 teams alive though, Mark. And so all this positioning hasn't resulted in any one team going down.
Yeah, a lot of teams alive at the moment, and you have to say the quality of these games has been very, very good so far. And this one's looking to kind of continue with that pattern, right? At the moment, you've got EC who are trying to rotate their way in from the northern side towards launchpad that you can see in front of you right now. Empire are holding down one of the buildings. It's going to be safe, but just safe. It's the teams that are coming in from the east side, which is going to be the most interesting, and the north a little bit later on. The likes of Disguised and SKD, who are having maybe a little look at each other right now over at Stormcatcher, because they're the ones who are going to have to move through the open ground. They're the ones who are going to have to hope when they approach the zone they have purples and reds, because they're going to be forced to fight their way in, and if they don't have that armor advantage, it's going to be even more difficult to do.
I agree, and I think one of the interesting things too, you know, as this position is, you know, hey, they're on the screen. Let's talk DSG, right? Can they find a little bit of rhythm here? This is a relatively tough staircase to go up and back, and that's why they're going to use just this Wraith portal. I think they might have gone for you know, a different type of rotation and just said, we're not going to play this one right now this way. And obviously in zone, they're confident in being able to take that. But on the other side, it's not moist as well. So it's not like they have that much more of a better spot. Look on your map. You're going to see them coming in on the very north side, just starting to walk in. Not moist is right there. So DSG, even with the Wraith portal, it's going to be so tough to get past. Won't see, but what? What? That Hemlock Sentinel from Design and Timmy goes hard.
They are angry right now. They did not expect this, but this is the beauty of the zone wrap, right? If you don't watch your back when the zone is closing, this is what can happen. And DSG are one of the best teams at it. They zone wrap, they catch you off guard just when you think that you've seen a team leave and you see them engaging elsewhere. Well, they come back behind you. They caught you. They catch you with your pants down. And Walsey is unfortunately not moist. Going to be the player who finds it out first.
Got to be dead. I mean, what a grenade. He gets Gilderson's. That is huge. That is so much firepower on Moist. MT is literally at 1 health. Enemy is low too, but look at this. Who is late to the party, but maybe right on time? It is SKD Mark. But do they not want to commit? They're going around the back. I think they're worried that someone might be coming for them as well. I think this is smart from SKD, but it's just indecisive, Mark. I don't know if it's going to work out at all. Both sides now pressured. SKD have to commit one way or the other.
Yeah, I think they know they can't now zone wrap themselves, and because Temper are there who are watching, and that was one of those situations where I was like, this could be Temper just getting a free kill, and that is the end of SKD's game, because they tried to zone wrap, they tried to mirror what Disguise did, but it just didn't work because they got caught off guard. Then they tried to wrap back, and all of a sudden they are in a horrible position. So SKD now, the easiest way to get out of a horrible position, if you've got a little bit of space, is to hit the evac tower, and that's exactly what they do. They will overtake the skies. They will try and scarper in a land in and among the waterfalls. Native Gaming, in the meantime, they've been eliminated by Flat, so a couple of quiet games for Native, and they're going to have to work their way in now through Complexity or holding them out from the other side of Pylon.
Yeah, Flat had a good spot here. They're going to now, again, you're right, Complexity have really made this very interesting because Flat were gatekeeping Native. They were gatekeeping another team as well. I think it might have been Temper, but there was another squad down there next to this fight that could not get in because Flat had these buildings. And it looks like Complexity have just thrown that veil, knowing that if they go down that hill, Flat will have to follow them. But Flat have at least another zone to figure out a plan. And it might be just enough time to push Complexity into DSG.
Oh, Kimchi goes down, shots coming in, and Complexity, who decided to try and back out of that. The only problem was the spot that they left open. Well, when they tried to return to it, everybody was focusing it because they heard that fight going down. But DSG, who did land in zone a few moments ago, well, now they've got to win a fight against Temper. Shots coming in here from Designful. The hip fire with the Havoc is good, and they will get the win in that team fight as Temper will be eliminated. But the shots and the angles are just leaving them exposed. Designful trying to play around a knockdown, but you get the feeling that DSG might not be long for this game.
2 players alive. Flat now has to risk pushing. I don't think they like Disguise's spot. I think if they push, they die there as well. So in a way, Disguise's terrible spot in this zone might just save their life, at least for now. What does Flat do and how do they start to play it? That's a big question, but it's really SKD Mark and Stallions in front of them. Beautiful shots from that Prowler. Shubi making a nice bit of work here with the SMG. One of the only ones we're seeing right around now, and again with no shield, still feeling confident to take this fight. They are all in.
Well, Disguise have been eliminated, so Designful wasn't able to survive. This fight continues to go here, and it's going to be Stallions who are looking to clean up some damage. Noct has been finished off as well, so it's down to Shubi and Dropped to try and clutch up. Dropped, of course, the new addition to this team, but Shubi, he's the clutch master for the team. He's got to win this 1v1. He's trying to swing, trying to finish off this kill, but he can't quite do it, so it will be a 1v1 that will continue for a little bit longer.
I like it though, and you just get the res because you force it, make it predictable. He's got to push or he's dead. There's nothing he can do there. That thermite is just, it's a shot in the dark, and honestly, it's a day late and $1 short. Retzi must leave, and that is a good play, a good bait, and Shubi should be able to get this one off.
Yeah, Stallions do get eliminated. It's a shot from distance onto Retzi with a Kraber. That means that Stallions will be eliminated, so it'll be a sort of a partial reset here for the Skiddies as they now work their way in as a duo. And I mentioned how moving in from the north and the east side was going to be tough. That was a great example of it, right? So many teams had to fight through each other and leave themselves exposed, but one way to
excuse me,
an evac tower is to set the thing on fire.
Does that work? I have not actually seen that way, and maybe it's just my unfamiliarity with that ultimate, but my goodness, that's some interesting uses there. And Sice showing us a little bit of not just the vision, which you could see, that is a very common use to see a little bit farther, holding that ultimate out. You don't have to use it, but maybe just saying, hey, we are willing to go all in on this fight as well, so you cannot rotate. LG should be able to clean this one up, although he is in zone in the smoke. It's a lot of damage by now, and wow, he found a little bit of safety, but you gotta think that's the end of it. We'll have to follow along. Not Moist as well. Almost down. MT, the last one surviving. SKD Mark also eliminated. 12 squads left as the chaos continues.
Well, Presley's going to go down here. A little bit of damage coming in from all sorts of areas. You can see that Hambino's trying to get the shield swaps to survive, but he's stunned. He's taking damage from all sorts of ults coming in, as well as Furia try and swing on this one to clean up the damage. And this might be C9 going in a few seconds as well. There's one more solo in the area as Furia do get it. But the problem here for both teams is the teams who were chasing the solos on both C9 and Edges, well, they get those kills on the solos, but then they engage with each other. LG were on the other side of it, but Furia look like they've backed down from that fight, and LG have done the same as well.
Starting to become obvious who's performing here, right? We see TSM, we see EEC, we see Furia alive, we see LG as well. Certainly threats and still alive in this lobby. 9 squads left. We've just reached under top 10. Everybody earning a point for being in that position. And Furia now has a number 2 position in the lobby, still trailing by 13 points behind TSM. So as they move, the question is, well, how do you start to pick on them? Because those two teams, the top 2 threats to TSM getting that 3rd win and earning a bonus point here, they're the closest ones to fighting each other.
But again, it's another example here on Storm Point of a zone that we haven't seen in quite some time, right? Usually we've seen with these launchpad zones that pulls out towards the fingers, maybe towards the waterfalls to the east. Well, this time it's bang center. Vanity have been eliminated in the meantime. We're down to 8 squads, and Eternal EC, well, they're trying to play this wall line in the moment, trying to use it as cover, and if they can do so successfully, they're going to be inside of that next zone. It's everyone like Furia, Board, NGNL, and LG who have to move in, and while all this is going down, by the way, TSM have just been hiding underneath in that tunnel. They're still on blue armors. They haven't been able to output a lot of damage, but they're still alive, and that's all that matters.
It is all that matters at the end of the day. And I think when you look at it, TSM, this is what those little things, that experience, that intelligence, doesn't really have to do with the hard work here. But the fact that they just didn't take that fight against LG, who's still alive, by the way, and both teams getting value from it. Furia takes a little bit of the rolling thunder. Madness going to be stunned just a bit, but have plenty of time and safety to hit that shield battery. Scans up in 2 seconds, and so 8 squads left. He'll have a good piece of information there. You wonder, what is Apex Legends like? You can play this game without seeing where people are through the walls, but it doesn't feel like that in pro play for the last at least half a year. Furia taking good advantage of that one and saying, we're going to keep on our Bloodhound. We're also going to keep on this Catalyst and trying to shut it down and find a way for us to get into this zone and win this game.
One thing that LG will have is a lot of loot, you would imagine. As I say that, I can see that Funk's got 2 cells, so maybe I'm talking absolute nonsense, but the amount of kills they picked up, you would imagine they've been able to loot a few boxes and pick up some decent meds on their way forward. It looks like they're trying to prepare to swing, or maybe they're expecting a swing from the team that's around the corner. That's going to be Eternal EC. TSM still alive, but one thing to point out here, not a lot of red armors in this end zone in comparison to what we saw on World's Edge. A lot of blues, I would say, in comparison to the standard that you would expect to see as Eternal EC. Well, they're going to disconnect from this lobby because they've been taken out. NGNL from the high ground hitting some nice scout shots.
Now we're starting to get into the chaos, right? This is that Fury Road where you just don't have a lot of playing space if you have to leave your low ground. Right now, everyone's covered, but once the zone pulls in, there's going to be 4 teams that have to vie for like 1 spot. And so this 7 squad, Mayhem, Melee, it's going to get real interesting. Funk, the first one or the last one to get up, the first one to go down, and that puts Sweet in a similar position. He's alive. He doesn't have 3 members there, but it's a 3-member situation in the top 10, which is what we asked for him in game 2, and now he's finally done it. It's going to prove valuable because they are 4 points away from 2nd place, and they are about 15 points away from 1st. Can they win? They'll have to take it from TSM, though.
Well, TSM are going to be pretty content with what they're seeing in front of them, and that's some Dark Veils going down with time still left on the clock. So teams are rotating away from the position they find themselves in, which means they're probably going to run into each other. That's why you've seen LG be eliminated. They will fall. The last 2 players will go down, and now TSM have to make their play, and my zap! If you're looking for firepower, well, there's a good example of it. A beautiful spray with Havoc, big damage, Oblivion eliminated in the meantime.
No contest at all. Nothing. Not a knuckle cluster. Not a grenade. I mean, that was their biggest threat. It looked like TSM was playing against somebody who wasn't even firing back. That was huge from them, and now they put their lead to 55 points. 4 squads left. They've made it again into the situation. LG has gone down. It's Furia, NGNL, Empire Gaming, and TSM here in our final 4 with only 12 players left.
And now the climb up is massive here for TSM. Can they survive long enough? Can they get up without taking too much damage as the Veils will forward? It's time for us to enter the final act as TSM look to pick up yet another win here. Fury will be eliminated. Empire Gaming will be the final winners though as they clean up the final pieces in that end game. That's one of my favorite games of Stormpoint I've seen for quite some time. That end zone was fun.
Wow. And so many different ways that could have gone as well. Bursty, Arc, and Wi-Fi. Another Fuse dub. That is at least 3 out of 4 Fuse wins today in the ALGS. And it's not only marking good news for the character, but it's marking good news for the name change. Ape Gang, now Empire Gaming, and they get their first win in our match day 3.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from them, just surviving, and I think just being the benefactors of that Dark Veil falling last just gave them a great opportunity. I think TSM were in a really good spot, but just took a little bit of damage before they had to decide when the right time was to hit that climb up, to get involved in that final fight. And even though they did some good damage, and I'm pretty sure they would have got second place if I wasn't mistaken, it's just a case sometimes of just having that advantage of height, right? Getting that damage down and allowing yourself to have the cover with the Dark Veil for the longest before you have to engage. It was perfect in-game management actually from a lot of those teams, and it was just Empire who did it best.
Yeah, great stuff from Empire as well. And, we're looking at this. We'll see stats in just a second, but they've definitely jumped up into have one more game like that, have 2 more games like that. You're looking at a top 5, but can you be consistent? Empire Gaming with a win, obviously that is going to be valuable as well. TSM were right there. Would have been the 3rd win on the day for TSM with Reps, Verholst, and Zap finding a way to be successful in this lobby 3 out of 4 times, but it will be a 2nd place here. And one of the things that they've been so good at previously is knowing that way to win, to be incisive and make that cut into the lobby, into the match, insert themselves so that they actually get the match win. But this will be pretty much good enough, especially for them, because they want to win the day. Empire Gaming, though, a 20 bomb, right there, kind of what they needed, and it's still a continued good performance from Furia.
Yeah, I mean, it's Empire Gaming who take the win, but I think if you're looking at TSM coming into today and after 4 games, you've got 2 wins and a second, you would bite your hand off. But even the most high standards expecting TSM fan would be very, very happy with that. Furia as well, I think, have quietly gone about their business. LG have kind of scraped up a few points. I thought that was an opportunity for them in that last game to maybe get a few more KP. There was a couple that just got away from them in those final moments, but again, a decent amount of points for them on the board, decent placements, a couple of kills that they picked up. But LG, I think it was the big fight, right? It was the one where I think it was Eternal who were looking to swing them in that end game. It might have been NGNL, excuse me, who were looking to swing them in that end game. And if they get that first knock, LG, in that situation, then maybe things are a little bit different. But LG again up there, they're looking like they're able to get to the end games consistently. If you could do that, you usually get points.
And it's good to see LG and Sweet finding this rhythm, obviously, with that new squad as well coming in this season. Liquid Alienware, a team we had highlighted earlier, a 1-pointer. It's still going to keep them in the top 10, but they're going to want more from that. Disguise, 17th place and 6 kills. Well, that shows a very difficult road to 17th, and we saw a lot of it on camera as well. 2 more games to get the act together for one of the fan favorites here as we compare our top 3 teams. Mark, it was NGNL Esports who, despite not getting 2nd or 1st and not even coming close to leading the kills, the damage was insane from J-Trips.
Yeah, I will say, by the way, that's probably infuriating in some ways because you've done so much damage, you've contributed to so many fights, but to come away with it with just 4 kills and 4 points, that's got to be a little bit frustrating, right? A lot of that damage may have been forcing teams away, which allows them to get into that 3rd place, but maybe there's a couple of headshots that just didn't land and it was bodies instead that maybe means that there wasn't the kills that went to them. But the difference in play style was shown by the damage stats, right? TSM, who basically played hard zone, played for that spot, didn't want to show too much presence, and you can see that in their kills and damage.
I mean, almost both teams, right? I think Arcology and Squad, they had almost less damage than TSM, just a little bit more. So it was definitely two teams who played zone, and that worked out for them. And they were able to find themselves active in those final fights, which I like. I think I like teams that are willing to take that approach, because you're going to get kills, you're going to get fights, you're going to get KP if you stay alive until that top 3, because guess what? There's nobody else to fight. You got to go into it. So TSM in this position, stay out the lead. They're 15 points ahead of Furia, who are having a very good day. LG right behind them. It starts to open up space here when EEC rounds out 4th with 31, but from 4th place all the way down to 11th, there's only about 8 points of a difference, and that means it's very much anybody's game heading into our back 2 games of Storm Point.
It does. I mean, there's still an opportunity for the likes of Furia, LG to overtake TSM with 2 games still to go. There's still an opportunity for those teams who are struggling a little bit down in that bottom 10 to jump up into that top 10. So this is a big last 2 games for some of these teams, and I think I don't expect those leaderboards to look exactly the same when we get to the end of today.
You know, I will leave this to probably you and Dan to focus on, or at least touch on, but not Moist. 3 points after 4, that is surprising. I mean, this is a team that, you know, we're talking about maybe winning LAN based on the performances that they've had before coming into the split, and now going into a new split, a team that's relatively unchanged. You got to say something's going on. Maybe it's rotations, maybe it's just the luck of the day, maybe it's the draft. We'll find out. I'll leave you and Dan to commentate on that and finish up our last 2 games coming up here in our ALGS NA Match Day 3 right after the break.
Welcome back, everybody, to the ALGS North American Pro League. We continue on our journey through the games today with 2 more to go. Dan Gaskin going to be joining me for these final 2 games. And Dan, what do you take away from what we've seen so far, and especially that last game?
I think the fact that TSM are finding such consistency, regardless if they got the win, it didn't really matter. I think they just have to stay ahead of the entire pack if they want to win this match day. Good for them, though, considering they had such a good draft on World's Edge, but we were wondering, is Storm Point going to be a situation where that POI is not going to be as successful? Getting points on the board early in match 4 leaves them in a position where match 5 and match 6, they can afford to let things slip a little bit because they are creating a bit of a gap.
Well, this is some of the highlights from our previous game that we did see, and that end game. And Fury in a really good spot as well as they tried to approach the zone. A little bit of damage coming in from the high ground, but this was the big moment just before for LG where they lost 1 player on their way towards the end game, meaning as a duo they just couldn't hold off the swing that came in from the 3 down on that low ground. Here's the Dark Veils, here's the climb up that came in from TSM as well, but this is what I was talking about, right? The Dark Veils fall, and last to have to engage was Empire. Great prioritization to take down TSM as they decided to climb up. It was only reps to deal with in the final moments, and deal with them they did. The question is, are they going to be able to repeat that in the same way that TSM already have today? Will they be able to get another win on the board to shoot themselves back up the leaderboards?
Well, they'll certainly be hoping to. I think a lot of teams now are seeing that that gap is getting a little bit too much at the top. And if you want to be able to come away with this match day being the victor, you need to be putting points on the board and catching those leaders sooner rather than later. Because if you go into match 6 too far behind, we already saw it in EMEA earlier on today. It is just impossible at times to try and gain that amount of kills, that amount of points in a very competitive lobby.
Well, as you can see, the players are dropping to their respective POIs. They've drafted right now Empire, who won that previous game, all the way from the north side of the map, by the way, which makes it even more impressive, although we do know that Lightning Rod is one of the strongest POIs and certainly one of the most favorite to pick for the extreme loot pool and trident that is available. They do have a ring console available for them on drop as well, so they'll be able to get really good information on where this one is going to be going. But at this moment, I'm not even prepared to guess because I feel like I'm getting them all wrong at the moment. I don't even want to say this is a Jurassic Zone. I feel like this is a Jurassic Zone, but it could also, now because I've said it, go towards Pylon.
Yeah, it could be one of those ones that pulls to the southeast of Pylon in the buildings. Well, it's technically, I guess, just the east of Pylon in the buildings on that side, which would benefit TSM. I think one of the biggest indications we'll get is TSM have ring console, and they're going to be one of the earlier movers to the zone, so we'll get a big kind of situation where they know exactly where they would like to play. Flat, though, are landing at Pylon. Do they have a ring console? Yes, they do, actually. Okay, so Flat will actually be our first competitors that can move somewhere and show us where they think the circle is going to be heading. But if it is Jurassic, NGNL, likelihood they will be in the best position with the game as well.
Interesting that, TSM, this is a great point to talk about. It's the draft POIs, right? Where you're going. TSM is a really good example of how things can kind of work out, even if you don't get a POI that you really want, right? Yeah. Because some of the zones that we've had so far, they have had great prio to, and this is going to be another one, right? And this is when I'm talking about you have a week where you have to get points with a bad POI through the draft, right? They're the ones that are probably going to contribute more than a little bit later when you get a good POI to play from and you feel a little bit more comfortable. They're the points that almost count for more because it's a tougher, you would say arguable, tougher job to go and get those points knowing that it's a POI that you're not 100% comfortable on. But if the zones come to you and you have a little bit of fortune on your side, then knowing that you've got drafts that happen a little bit later on where you're going to get better picks on Storm Point, it's going to fill them with so much confidence.
There's always going to be an element of where the zone is, and also, do you get ring console? Do you get survey beacon? Do you have the ability to get said information and also get your shields up? Do you have an Evo harvester that's going to be nearby? There's always going to be those elements that change things and can benefit you, and you can get lucky, you can get fortunate. There's always going to be that element of RNG to it. But you're completely right. TSM made it count when they had the good POI, but they put themselves in a position where even if they struggled here, it wouldn't matter that much because they got so many points on the board on World's Edge. But now they've got to make it count here as well. This is an opportunity where they can move relatively quickly. They can get all the information they would like. It looks like at the moment they're moving through Echo to get extra loot and see if they can pick up any remaining pieces and maybe get an extra Evo armor as well. So TSM should be in a good spot. There are a few teams who are not going to be necessarily as happy about where that circle is going to be going, because if it finishes in Jurassic, this is usually such a heavy rotation part of the map where everyone makes their way through. If there's a beacon there, you hit the beacon and you're on your way. But if you are arriving late to Jurassic, quite literally, the gates are going to be blocked off and they will stop you from getting into this POI.
It's like trying to enter a gated community. That's what it's like, right?
You need a passcode.
You need the passcode. You don't want to upset the weird couple that live right by the gates and check everyone that comes in and out. We all know who they are. I don't live in a gated community, by the way.
I do, so I'm slightly concerned.
Oh my goodness. I've always said that you are that kind of guy, and now I know it should be true. We don't have that in the UK.
I like my safety. I like my safety.
That we have is the one that's broken and people could just walk into the shed.
Yeah, I'm not giving out anyone my code, by the way. I'm just going to stay safe in my gated community, as I imagine
gated community
NGNL are. It just means it's nice. Yeah, exactly. It's safe, it's tidy, and I appreciate it. You know, I'm a very well-kept young man.
I'm coming to visit.
Please do.
Enemy spot.
And I'm going to leak the code. Basically now trying to get some shots down from height. I've got your backs, everyone. Don't worry, we'll all go and visit down at the same time. 6 overall at the moment, 30 points on the board, but a couple of the same problems you would say maybe rearing their head for this complexity roster in these games is good games, but not big win games, right? Not winning, converting top 5s into firsts, and it'd be something to look out for them when we look at their conversion rates a little bit later as we get a little bit more data, how successful they are at getting to 10th and into the top 10, and then where from there they end up placing, because I think that's certainly something that they need to work on.
Sounded like Rain Day for a second. Complexity, big win games. Me, Rain Day.
I sound like caveman.
And to be honest though, I was expecting maybe a little bit more from Complexity, and I think that sadly that's what happens after that you have a successful scrim, is you naturally have eyes on you. People expect a little bit more, but they're in 8th position. It's not like it's all doom and gloom. They are still in a spot where they can push for those top positions and get a good amount of points, especially if they can find a good game here. But they are moving all the way from the northeast, so it is going to be a long journey for them. Likelihood they'll go through the likes of Stormcatcher. If they wanted to, they could go through Command Center actually, because then they would have beacons. But at the moment we're watching Native, they have found a spot in the northeast of the zone. As we check in Pylon, everyone who's gone to Pylon is really hoping for a zone shift this way, believe me.
I think waiting with bated breath is the terminology, and I also think that everyone who is here probably knows they're going to be disappointed as well in a little bit, but they're here for it. They're going to see what happens, and TSM are going to be here, the Edges are going to be here as well, and of course LG that are on our screens as well, who are 3rd place overall with 39 points. So you can see how close it is. We just looked at Complexity a few moments ago, and they weren't too far behind when it comes to points, but certainly we're a little bit further behind when it came to placement. So LG, even though they're in 3rd at the moment, they will know how kind of vulnerable and fragile that points total they have is, and a couple of big games here would be very, very important for them for just solidifying this top 3 position. But work to do here for LG.
Brother, I've just seen that. I've just seen that change of zone, and it's not good news for those who are Pylon waiting for where it was going to be moving. Bated breath, as you said, because they're all going to have to shift themselves up north slightly. Native Gaming, though, they'll be delighted with that one, and NGNL, who did drop at Jurassic, still going to be in one of those better positions. Now, you were speaking about LG, and you were saying, you know, hesitant to do this, hesitant to do that. LG wouldn't even push out of their position because they wanted to get the Evo Harvester, but they couldn't. There's too many teams in Pylon, and if you can't push out to get an Evo Harvester, how are you going to push out to get into the next zone? That's my biggest question. You're going to have to take a fight at some point, or pick your moment perfectly, maybe when other teams are fighting, and you can use it as a distraction.
I mean, this is a really interesting decision now for how do you play this for the teams that are in Pylon, right? Because you could say, oh, we could go east, we could do this, but leaving Pylon with the extreme verticality and lines of sight that teams like the Edges are going to have up on top, it means even leaving Pylon full stop is tough to do. You're kind of hoping the team who is up on top is going to rotate first and allow you to then rotate afterwards. But tough decisions to make. Vanity are moving their way in towards Pylon as well. I think that might frustrate a few teams who are in Pylon at the moment and thinking this is our way to leave, but another team who's going to be a little bit frustrated at the moment is not Moist. They are propping up the leaderboards at the moment, Dan. They've only managed 3 points so far in the 4 games that we've had.
And again, another downside of, you know, confidence after scrims. They won the scrim, the B versus C scrim. They looked like a dominant force, and then you come into it, the zones shift, and suddenly it's not as comfortable for you, and you expect more. I think that Not Moist are a team that you should see at the top of the leaderboard, especially with their success throughout Split 1. But there is still 2 games. There is still a chance for them to make a late surgence up this board, and I wouldn't put it past them. It's just been a difficult day so far.
I was going to say, speaking of late surgence, Disguise is one of the teams who love a Game 6 big game, which kind of changes everything when it comes to their narrative of the day. Let's see what they're going to do right now, though. Let's jump into listening with DSG.
Somebody's gonna force something for us. We have to go back and stabilize.
There's so many teams on this side.
We have an evac. I think we could stabilize in the choke across towards Jurassic. I think we could stabilize over here. I think we stabilize right there. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what if there's a team? What if there's a team there? Then we just have to die.
They would be shooting. They would be shooting right now. I'm about to evac deep.
That's it. He's cracked. Back.
I think we're gonna get shot at.
Go. Just stick this shit, please.
I'm getting shot. You're
good. You're good. Keep coming.
You can probably land safe on pills.
Yes. Land safe pills. On me. Safe on me. There's a team up there. Yes. I cracked one. Just stabilize here.
1 feet up. Doing all count. And it's on the right.
Can you put us deep? Can we play over there?
Waterfall?
At the tree, at the tree,
I don't
at the tree. Or
I don't
this
know if
side
it's
tree.
safe.
Or this tree.
We get walked up on over here, I'm pretty sure. Actually. No, there's a team here.
That tree.
There's a team here. They're fighting across though.
What are they?
They're fighting right here. They're fighting right here.
Get ready to... No, chill. Just stabilize.
There we are.
I'm stabilizing. They have
Coming to you. We should. Yes. We should fight them when they all fight behind us.
Idiot, cut us.
Get your ult.
Full heal.
Get your ult. Nade.
I got a bat. We all have to bat.
I'm at the take 4 here in a second.
It's in that portal, I think.
I'm saying take 4.
Yeah,
Hold on. On the portal.
They're on the port. I'm taking 4 back.
Take crack, big one.
Bang is one shot. Kill her. Killer. She won.
We're back over here.
Fuck.
Wait, you're probably safe portal.
I can't. I'm dead now. Fuck.
We need to play our backside.
Try to look first.
Come on our backside. Oh, I should be not really safe. Me on.
The word of the day is stabilize, everybody. Stabilize. And that's what DSG were trying to do, but it's not working out for them at the moment. It seemed like there was a little bit of confusion about where they wanted to play, where they wanted to port to, and having initially hit that evac down, it just never felt comfortable.
And I hate to keep saying it, but I just feel like there is a lot more to offer from other legends, and Wraith can put you in some sticky spots sometimes. Yes, you can get out of dodge as well, but at the moment, DSG sadly could not get out of said sticky spot. For Complexity, though, they should be able to pick up some kills here. Stunny has fallen, and they should be able to follow up with it, and they will. Vanity get eliminated, and Complexity now will hold the entirety of this eastern side, so they should be comfortable for quite some time.
Yeah, really important for Complexity there that they were able to reset and isolate that in a way where there was no third parties whatsoever in the vicinity, and that KP now allows them to move in from the western side of Stormpoint. SKD, the skiddies, as we love to call them, well, they're trying to do something from the northern side of this zone as well, and they're trying to kind of move through the similar area that we saw from DSG a little bit ago. Great spray coming in from Drop to break some shields, but does not get that knock.
Yeah, Complexity might be able to jump in on all of this action that's happening on the northern side. You've got Skid, you've got Not Moist, you've got Empire, and the remainder of Disguise that are all likely to fight here. If Complexity can time this right, there is a lot of potential KP for them if they are able to move in. You can also see Not Moist. There's one player still alive that might be going down soon. Liquid Alienware get eliminated, Not Moist do get eliminated, and Skid have been able to find a little bit of consistency on this northern side.
Yeah, Not Moist out again. Really rough day for them. Still got one game to go, but not been the day that you would expect from a team who holds themselves to such high standards. Fury now moving in. They have had a good day today, and this swing, this death ball is devastating, and Stallions get pinched, squashed, and run over.
Fury have done that a few times today. Very good at all pushing in the same direction and swinging at the same time and targeting correctly. So impressed with Furia's display, and they are keeping within TSM. Second place at the moment, of course, and still with an opportunity to walk away with all of the points here today. Now, flat on this southern side, they've got LG to their east, who is their biggest concern, but sadly, if they move north, they walk into edges. They walk into the likes of Furia, so you really have to try and go over the top of everything if you're not going to force your way, but I don't think they have an evac tower to do so. So this fight might have to happen against LG.
Someone's going to have to do some big damage here. Funk doesn't have his ultimate available. It doesn't have a scan for at least 9 seconds as well, but that big damage does come in. Are they going to be able to play off of it, though? That's the question. Funk is trying to create an opening. Sweet is trying to use that M&K movement to create a little bit of space, create a distraction for them. But again, not able to do so quite yet. The Arc Star isn't going to do damage. But with 40 seconds to go, Funk has managed to sneak through here. Now, can he find an angle to get a pick? That's the question here. Funk is going to pop. Funk is going to get damage. It's not the knock, but it is flesh.
It is a lot of damage, and they can push up on this if they want. The evac tower is there if they want to take a backup redeploy, but they may not have time to do so. It might go down, so they might have to force the fight as well. Elsewhere, I said about Complexity, they have to take the fight against Skid, but LG should be able to walk up on this one. They still want to take the fight. The Knuckle Cluster can do a lot of damage, and the grenades are now going to follow.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Fuse, right? He's the ultimate bunker buster. And if you got a team who are trapped inside, if you can hit that knuckle cluster, you can get some damage down, then you can clean up these fights so quickly. It's time to swing in behind the gold knockdown. This should be LG being able to clean this one up. But no! Oh, no! Oh, no! Nano says no!
How on earth have you pulled that off? That is the gold knockdown shield being at its very best, by the way. And LG confidently pushing in, thinking they had one up there, but Flat survive. Flat are not going to be able to get back up to a full 3, but that is tough to watch for LG for sure. And their chances now of winning the entire day could have been flushed down the drain there and then, because we still have some of the other teams that are ahead of them alive. Furia, for example, still on the go on this southern side. They're just outside the gate of Jurassic.
I'm sat here right now with my mouth, with my hand over my mouth. I can't believe what I've just seen from NRG. That is a mistake that they do not make very often. And one that they're going to certainly rue. Tempar look like they're going to go down as well, as we see more teams and more players falling as everybody is forced together. Native still alive, by the way, as are the Skinny Boys. They're still here. Complexity, now they're all dressed in red as well. They've managed to get to full red Evo shields on their way towards this zone as well. 6th place, SKD at the moment. A massive opportunity as Oblivion will fall to.
Yeah, I think SKD in this position on the southeast, as long as they can hold out Complexity, which they have been doing for quite some time, they will be in one of those spots where they should be able to pick up a good amount of placement points, if not be in the final circle. But Complexity are also on full reds here. They're a real threat. So if you are SKD, you have to be proactive about this. You don't want to give Complexity the initiative to jump on you, get that initial damage, and then push up. If you get enough damage onto a Complexity member, I wouldn't hate getting aggressive here and just pushing out of your position to ensure that you hold the eastern side.
Well, Complexity got to make the move. The zone is going to force them to do so in around 20 seconds or so. They're trying to creep up. They want to take this spot away. You can see where the pings are coming in. That's where they want to play. The difficulty here for SKD is they are trapped in a corner. Didn't have the Bangalore ultimate available by the looks of things. There was a couple of Voic cells that were dropped as well. As Trips hits a 140, but it's not enough to get the knock.
And we'll have keen eyes on Furia, as do NGNL right now. They're watching Edges, they're watching Furia, both teams hesitant to push up because of the Kraber watching them, and that's a double whammy!
Yeah, that'll get it done. That'll get it done. A little collateral action coming in from Trips at the moment, but the zone is going to be closing in a few seconds and they will have to move. He just wants one more opportunity to hit one more shot. Instead, he's going to have to change out to the Prowler. The Kraber did a lot more damage than that did, but Edges will finally be eliminated, and now we are down to just 5.
Well, Furia have used Edges here to escape, get out of Jurassic, and now they're pushing up onto Skid, and Complexity also sandwiching them. So there are 3 teams all in the same area right now. Furia backing off slightly. They can see them through the gate here. They don't want to get too close to him.
Bouncing up and down, springs in his legs is Vaxelon. He manages to get the final damage. He's got a bow check as well, and he's going to continue doing his best Sonic the Hedgehog impression as he jumps up and down on the springs to try and clean up a little bit more of that damage, but they have to force their way through here, otherwise they're going to be trapped.
And most importantly, this means Furia are now catching TSM. They're only 1 point behind first place. If they get into the top 3, which they do, suddenly Furia are level with TSM at the top of the leaderboard, setting us up for an incredible match 6 here today of day 3 of Split 2 Pro League. But can Furia go one step further? Can they get a victory to call it yet another one on the board, as a respawn beacon has been put down? Native Gaming, NGNL, and Furia are last 3 teams.
Rambo might have something to say about this endgame. He is being redeployed. And the long-haired hero, the man who loves an up-close endgame gunfight, is back in this game. R9, by the way, in the hands of Arcane. I know he's been away for a while, but did you know there's better guns right now when it comes to SMGs? I'm joking.
I'd like to hope that he's got a good clip for it. That's as long as you've got a good clip. Blue, purple I would have been all right with, but you know, the R9 in the right hands can still do a lot of damage. It's just the clip size. You just need to be ready to whip out your other weapon. But there's a bit of a standoff at the moment. Everyone reluctant to poke out. You can see Native Gaming, whichever side they go at, they're being targeted by a certain team. And this is actually a really fun final circle, because the only things you've got to hide behind are kind of trees and rocks. And then there is a very central area where everyone is going to meet. And this is perfect for a 3 versus 3 versus 3. If there was 4 teams, it might be a bit messy. But now it becomes a game of bravery. Who kind of peaks first? Who has to force themselves out?
Fury making their move. Fury want to swing. Furia trying to creep up here and get that initial damage. The spray's going to come in. It's pretty good. Madness gets out of trouble as well. Vaxon tries to follow up. Furia get that first knock. Furia get the second as well. Native Gaming get eliminated. The shield swaps come in, but is it enough now to hold off the push coming in from NGNL? They're going to swing themselves. Native Gaming, they don't have anything to say about this. Endgamers, NGNL move in to clean up the last pieces of Furia. Surely this is their game. NGNL will be your champions of game number 5.
Well, NGNL, who dropped at Jurassic, will win the game in Jurassic, and they will be delighted to be able to clean things up there. It was a big swing from Furia. It opened up the door for NGNL, but you still have to time it correctly, and you still have to put yourself in that position to begin with. It's a big victory for them, but on the flip side, you've got to look at what Furia have just done. They have now jumped above TSM. They will be at the top of the leaderboard going into match 6.
It just sets us up so beautifully, doesn't it? You mentioned it perfectly. You know, TSM fell pretty early in that game, which kind of opened things up a little bit. Furia, with that great performance in that penultimate game, now put themselves maybe up on top of the pile. It's going to be extremely close, but so many different changes are going to happen in the leaderboards and right at the top, which means game number 6, it's, as I love to say all the time, Dan, when we get to game 6, it's all to play for, but it really does hold some weight now, that statement.
Yeah, I think that both TSM and Furia realized that there was a massive opportunity here to pick up all the points. And we said it right at the top of the show. When you don't have the likes of Falcons, you don't have the likes of Space Station in this lobby, if you can walk away the victor here, you are going to be delighted and you will be seen as the next maybe big team that is a real threat. And maybe everyone else saying, all right, well, there is someone new added to the game-changing ability here.
Yeah, it's not just a 2-horse race. We're going to see more horses in this race, and we're going to go right down to the finish line as well by the looks of things today. I can't remember a game day in Pro League which has come down to the final moments and been so close for quite a while. I mean, Falcons, when they've been playing, they seem to have sponged a lot of the points away. SSG, like you mentioned, have been the 2 runaway teams, but this really is set up so well for this final game. And when you're looking at zones and you're looking at what we had to play, again, like, that zone I haven't seen in quite some time. That's a zone you don't see very often as well. So all of these little things are starting to play on the mind of IGLs. Like when you think you've read a zone, when you think you know the place that you want to play, in the back of your mind, just thinking, some of these zones have been a bit unpredictable. Is it going to move to something that we haven't seen in quite some time? Do we play for that? Do we try and, you know, hedge our bets a little bit, take that risk and see if it's going to play out for us? And it just, like you said perfectly, like it just sets us up so beautifully for this final game.
And again, it goes back to your point about you might not have got the best POI selection. I think NGNL selected Jurassic 27th in the POI draft, but they were rewarded with a zone that came to them and they took advantage of that opportunity. Yes, they didn't get the most points, but they got the victory. They got 6 kills. They got 18 points, but it is Furia who essentially come out as the victors with the 11 kills alongside that second place.
Yeah, massive amount of kills there for Furia, and we saw a couple of their death balls, and they are looking extremely scary when all 3 players just dive in, holding down fire and hip firing away to make sure that they just clean up as many kills as quickly as possible. Native Gaming, their first real strong performance of today as well, 7 kills alongside their 3rd place finish. They probably feel a little bit hard done by in that endgame with Furia, the team who pushed onto them to basically play for second in that situation. Complexity, good KP as well as placements for them means 14 points, and SKD just behind them as well, 6 points in total for them.
I think that game was an interesting one right from the get-go when we had several teams in Pylon that all had to move up into Jurassic, but it's one of those circles you look at and you gamble. Sometimes you're later, so you have to take the gamble. You have to take what is the more unlikely pull, and sadly for most of the teams, it did go up to Jurassic. LG, 11th place. What could have been, right? What could have been with that position they found themselves in when they had the upper hand? Was it a 3v1? I think that they lost maybe a 2v1 in the end.
I don't know what happened.
Definitely
honestly,
going back to look at that one, because I think that's a fight they should have won.
I think it's one of those that you don't go back and look at, because it's
you just forget about it.
You can cover. Just forget. Just never. Whatever we all did, just don't do that again. It's as simple as that in that situation. But what it does mean with those KP that they got, LG, is they kind of hold on to be in touch and distance of those top 2 teams at the moment. They're in 4th place at the moment. There is a little bit of daylight between them and NGNL, but in behind them, SKD, they'll be looking to bump themselves up board on 35. 3 teams tied on 35 points, and Furia do indeed take over that #1 spot from TSM, who for the first time today end up with 0 points as they go out early. Now, I've said it a few times, I'm going to say it once more, because we are set up beautifully for the final game of the day, and we will get to that final game. Game number 6 is coming up just after this break. Everybody, game 6 is upon us. It's the final game of the day here in the North American ALGS. And Dan, we are lucky enough to be on the mic to call this one because it's going to be one of the best game 6s we've seen in quite some time. Still so much to play for all these teams. We don't know who's going to be the winner after it's all said and done today because it is just that close between our top teams.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where this one goes. I think that Furia have now really set a statement in match number 5, and the real question is, can TSM answer back? It's been like ping pong back and forth between these two teams. Furia have got a win, TSM have got a win, TSM have got another win, but now can we see Furia put one on the board to solidify the points at the top of the table here? Of course, NGNL had something to say about that in match number 5, but here going into match 6, we know the zone is going to play a big difference, but I think the confidence of both Furia and TSM is something we have to talk about.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting game here, and the zone is going to be massive because TSM have had pretty good prio to some of these zones. The question is this going to be one that they have good prio to as well, or are they going to have to work hard for their first win of this split? Fury are going to look to answer back and look to make sure that they hold on to this top spot in the final few moments. But outside of that, you're looking at LG, you're looking at the other teams. Can they have an influence with a banger game in these final moments? All of these questions will be answered in the next few minutes. We're into Storm Point. It's the final game of the day, everybody. And I gotta be honest, I've got all the energy in the world for this one.
And these Storm Point games have been brilliant. You said it in match 4. That was one of the most exciting Storm Point games you'd seen in a while. The same for match 5. I loved that final circle. I loved the aggression we had to see from certain teams. Yeah, okay, NGNL, they were kind of gifted it at the end, but it was more the swings we saw from certain teams to try and really get those kills on the board. And Fury have realized that maybe the victory isn't what they need, it's the points. And if they saw 3 KP there and available for them, sometimes that can be as good as a win in the late game.
Well, here we go then. That zone doesn't tell us too much, apart from it's going to be a little bit more central than an extreme edge of Storm Point. We're not going to go to Coastal Camp. We're not going to Zeus Station. We're not going all the way over to the mill. And this is, again, where beacon information is going to be so important. Is it going to be a very similar zone to what we saw just a few moments ago? No, we're going a little bit more north towards Cascade Falls and maybe up towards the end of the zipline buildings as well.
Well, Oblivion say thank you very much. If they've got a ring console, do they have a ring console? Maybe not. Native Gaming are going to be pretty good in terms of their position. I think Vanity actually could be in a spot where they can move very fast as well, but this zone is very north to south heavy, right? There is a big hill that you have to try and play off. And if you are coming from the southern side, it is going to be a struggle for you. So move quickly, get into the zone, try and find one of those spots. If you're one of the teams, sadly, who has to move a long distance, then you might need to start looking at, you know, playing edge, looking for some kills, and doing similarly to what Furia did in that game. Maybe realizing they're not going to win, but there is KP there for them.
Well, LG, who are going to have to mentally reset from that last game and the disappointment of that fight, which, to be honest, I'm sorry to LG fans, and I'm sorry to Sweet to bring it up again, but it's something that quite simply cannot happen in those moments where you've done the hard work, you just gotta finish it off. But one thing I just wanted to highlight there was we have a very fascinating zone for a number of reasons, right? If you're looking at first and second place, TSM and Furia, if you were to draw a straight line, I think from where this end zone is going to be to the equivalent of where they are dropping on the map, it is almost identical, the amount of distance that they have to travel. So to win this game day, this match day, one of these teams is going to earn it. It's not going to be given to them. They're going to have to earn it, and they're kind of at a similar distance and a similar difficulty if they want to do so.
And I think the likelihood is it's only going to be between those two teams. Complexity and LG have to do far too much, realistically, to get to the number 1 position. It would have to be a 20-plus point game, which, don't get me wrong, is achievable for both Complexity and LG, but also then has to be alongside either Furia or, if not both Furia and TSM, falling early. But, you know, it's still a possibility, so I won't put it out of the chances for the likes of Complexity and LG. Just unlikely at this point. But we'll have to see how the game goes on. Native find themselves in one of the better positions for this circle. We spoke about the north to south divide here. I think they'll be pretty happy with their position.
I always think this is a difficult building to hold, though. Speaking of which, Complexity, they're trying to siege a building right now, and they're being extremely aggressive on their way in, but they get locked out! Kimchi does get the first knock, though. That's going to make things a little bit more interesting. And now they can kind of take their time to pick up some more pieces, but Kimchi taking the damage inside of the building. Lou's going to be there to help him out, though, and that's going to be Oblivion obliterated as Complexity will pick up their first kills. And you said 20 points is a lot. Well, that's the perfect way to get yourself going towards it.
Kimchi, like a pesky fly, just nabs his way in before the screen is closed and allows Complexity to get the kills and get the building that they were desiring. And yeah, they need a big kill game if they're going to find themselves. So that is a good start and sets them on the right path. Furia, you said it's a long journey. They're in Sito at the moment as they make their way through. They are being shadowed by a couple of teams, though, so they just need to be careful in this Trident that they're not too slow, because you are going to be an easy target.
Well, they do manage to get the UAV scan, which is going to give them an idea of where players are, and they also, more importantly, have a Trident to play with that they picked up outside of Cenote. So they're going to be able to maybe cover a little bit more ground quicker than TSM are, who are still over in Echo HQ and are going to be playing a little bit of a different game. I think they're going to play a slower game, look to pick up a lot of Evos, purples and reds is going to be the name of the game for them to work their way in towards this zone later. DSG, though, game 6 has to be a game 6 for them again, because it's been just a lackluster performance from them. They never really got going, and speaking of not really got going, you have to put Moist in that conversation as well. 4 points from 5 games is about as unmoist. It's dry, Dan, as you can imagine.
Yeah, sadly, lack of moisture all around, and even if they were to find a victory here...
Moist.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true.
But maybe they're too moist right now. They need to start to dry up a little bit. But I will say that, you know, even if they were to find a victory here, they're not even going to jump into the top 10. Like, that's how far they are behind. For Disguised, at least, a win would put them into that top 10, and, you know, they managed to save it. They managed to put themselves in a spot where they said, okay, we had a really bad start, but at least we were able to get 1 win on the board. Wouldn't really even be in that position for Moist. They would have to get 25 kills to even get up there. Well, 25 points, excuse me, to get up there. So it's a sad reality that this is just going to be a match day they have to forget about.
Well, back to the teams who are playing inside of zone at the moment. Eternal going to be one of them. They're just across from their neighbors, which is going to be Native Game we saw a little bit previously. And I mentioned how that building can be so difficult to hold for Native because you have so many lines of sight. And the difficulty for me as well is, like, not only the windows that you can't kind of barricade with a catalyst, but also if somebody gets damaged down, there's so many points of entry, the doors, the windows, and also the staircases, that it's so easy for one player just to go undetected, swing in and clean up one of those kills. It's a very siegeable building. I don't know if siegeable is a word, but it is now.
You have that power, and I will believe you and trust you.
We're all siegeable.
I think it is a word, but I don't know. I'm not usually the right person to go to with that kind of stuff. I do think, though, that Native Gaming... Excellent. Lily. I did say, like, maneuvering or something earlier, which did get me...
I can't talk.
Chuckling.
Yep.
By the way, Native Game, though, you say it's a hard building to hold, right? If the zone does pull north, sure, people might try and take it off them, but you expect that to happen, and as long as you are prepared for the push to come, I think those buildings are hard when the push is maybe unexpected. Never mind, I'll shut up. It is going to pull south. Doesn't even matter at this point. Instead, we're going to go back down to the likes of Complexity, Vanity, and Engineer now.
I'm happy to say, everybody, for the first time today, I believe this is going to be a Cascade Fall zone, and I feel pretty confident in that, having just seen where the zone is going to be going. Is that fair? I think it's about as 100% as I could be at this point in the game.
It has been a struggle to call some of these zones today, and it's not just us. I think it's evident with some of the positions from teams that they haven't really known what's going to be going down either. There has been a few struggles. I mean, half the lobby's got this bang on, but there's a few who moved early, the likes of Native, for example, who really haven't, and they're going to be punished for it now.
We're still going to be in the case of moving from the north is going to be somewhat of an advantage, but I think a lot of teams are thinking along the same lines. LG, though, big fight for them against C9. The C9 had some pretty bad luck today. I think Naughty's had a few connection issues as well with the lobby, so that makes it even more difficult. But LG trying to play off of this damage, trying to use that fuse ult to move in as well, but no opening pick for them. So C9 versus LG, it's not the first time we've seen it today, and C9 says, you know what, I want nothing in this. I am out of here, and LG will force them away.
I think there's going to be a few teams who are a little bit nervous, reluctant to take these fights. Liquid Alienware down to just 2, though. Can they help out and maybe get Yanya back on his feet, or are they going to have to fight this one as a 2? The Dark Veil certainly gives them the cover here, and Aguadas is going to be on a scouting mission just to ensure that they're not going to be pushed. So, not the end of the world there. There was warning signs for Liquid Alienware, but back up to a full 3. And the position they hold, I mean, even though they're not in the next circle, they are in one of those vantage spots where you can pick up a lot of KP if you see those teams just running down below you trying to get into the next zone.
11th, excuse me, at the moment for Liquid Alienware. That'll teach me for taking the mick out of you saying something wrong. I should have known better. 11th at the moment, and they are a team who can jump up those leaderboards of how tight it is outside of those top two. So a good game for them, and getting that reset almost as important for them to be able to contribute to a good game. And they can jump up for sure. LG kind of holding on at the moment. It feels like it hasn't been a banger day for LG so far. It's just been just good enough. And I think Sweet has got to take a lot of the plaudits for his solo plays as to why LG are in the position that they find themselves in right now. Trying to hold out a couple of teams, and the team they're trying to hold out at the moment is going to be TSM. Now, Liquid Alienware are having a look for the north, which makes it a little bit more interesting, a little bit less likely for them to overextend. But TSM, their choices in this game are going to be very, very interesting. It looks like they don't want to take this fight for now. Instead, they're going to rotate away and look for more Evo.
Well, I think for both TSM and Furia, it'll be watching the kill feed and do we see one of them go down? Let's play this one safe. Let's play it a little bit cautious. TSM, they're outside of the zone right now, so they don't really have the ability to just hunker down and wait. They have to be a little bit proactive. But it does look like on our map feed, TSM are going to be pathing in a way to get extra Evo harvesters and get maybe more information from ring consoles. As for Furia, a slightly better position. And maybe they are...
Trident.
God, this is terrifying, by the way. Imagine coming out of this portal.
The Trident has become sentient. We've seen that on the side. I think he's doing all sorts. And Vaxlon's not happy with it as well. There's a
He's surfing. He's surfing.
Who would have thought that they're in a game 6, by the way, with the potential to win a Pro League? I mean, that guy he's rocking it. I mean, maybe just calming the nerves a little bit.
So both TSM and Furia okay for now. We'll check in with them a little bit later. Flat, who are in 9th position and still in a real possibility to push themselves into potentially the top 5 if they were to find a good game here. At the moment, they are going to hold out Empire, and they can potentially get involved in both Native and Eternals game. Potentially not Moist and Stallions as well, if you look at the map and where Flat currently reside. But this is going to be a tricky situation for everyone who's outside of this zone at the moment. There's going to be a lot of watching eyes as there is some action happening, and it's not Moist who are under fire.
Oh, not Moist are in a horrible spot again. There's two teams who have angles on them, and this is just synonymous with how their day has gone, really, right? Guild is down this time. They're trying to reset. They have some smokes, but it's going to be up to Walsey to try and hold this team off and try and stop the push coming in so they can stick this red. And instead, he's going to find himself on his own. He's got about 55 HP, and he's got about 5 seconds until he will fall. Not Moist with a day to forget, and I don't think there's really anything else you can say about it. Is Furia now trying to approach a fight with DSG?
And that could be a big fight. It could be the fight that defines what happens in this match 6 and this match day in general. Great damage from enemy. Did Disguised have anything left in the tank, right? It was a day to be forgotten for Not Moist, but Disguised can still change that story. They can still have a big game, but it's against Furia, who we know are confident.
Well, Designful's got to be so careful here. You see he was trying to overextend. He was trying to swing, trying to see if he can get a pick. But in the meantime, Timmy's going to have to get into position to keep him alive. Designful does find a corner to hit the battery, though.
What can you do from here?
The Barry doesn't get popped, and now it's all up to Timmy. He hits 171. It's a great spray, but Furia, the death ball is back. And DSG's bad day will go from bad to worse. Furia pick up KP. Furia will clean them out. And Furia look like they're on a mission.
Yeah, Furia look like they have a plan, and that plan is kill everything in sight, as Madness also lets them know. I think that was a bit of built-up, pent-up frustration, really. They knew who was below them, because you see the Wraith portal, so it's evident. And they say, you know what, screw it. Let's actually get involved in this fight and take out this team so we don't have to worry about them later. And now Furia actually own the western side and have a real opportunity to get into the latter stages. Bad news for TSM fans.
I will say as well, that's the perfect time to teabag, right? I always see people doing it too early in series. It always comes back to bite you if you do it early in a series. Do it in the last game when that team is dead, because they cannot do anything about it until the next game day. Flat, though, they're moving down. They're in 9th place at the moment. They've got a fight in their hands.
A fight that certainly could be won if you can hit shots randomly through the Dark Veil. But the zone certainly has a play. Oh, and that should be enough damage, surely. But it looks like the zone really is tickling, and it's more of a tickle at this point. It becomes a scratch.
Well, Big Louie, he's trying to stay alive right now, find a place to hit that battery. Unfortunately, they lost one player during that team fight. They still managed to win, and now Liquid Alienware popping the dogs, trying to find those kills to convert into their own points here. As Jaguares has to take a second to hit a battery again. Yanya is trying to hold this high ground at the top of the waterfall to make sure that he's in a position, if anyone overextends in this team fight, that he can clean up some of these KP. In the meantime, Stallions, they're trying to rotate, but they're stuck in a horrible spot as well, but then Dark Veil might just save them.
Eternal are watching every step of the way from Stallion, saying, look, we have got eyes on you, and if you step one step too far, or maybe past that Dark Veil, we will clip you and we'll send you home. But Furia might be able to take advantage of this. Actually, they've heard all this commotion, and now they're pushing up onto Stallions.
Furia want more kills, and why wouldn't you? Their team fight has been so good today, and even blind firing through the smoke, Vaxelon is doing damage. Native Gaming have been eliminated in the meantime. They'll be taken out by Complexity, so their day will finish after a good game number 5. Game number 6 does not follow the same pattern, but here come AEC as well. They want a piece of this, and Furia gonna have to work hard for it.
Liquid Alienware, Eternal, Furia, and Stallions are all in the same area. There is a lot of KP available for one of these teams. Eternal will be able to pick up one. Can they finish off, though? Those knockdown shields being such a detriment to try and stay alive. Liquid Alienware also lose one. All the meanwhile, Furia still doing damage here.
And it's Furia who are holding everyone off at the moment, and getting that kill onto the overextender from Liquid Alienware means that not only can they reset and get space, it means later on in this game, they will only have to deal with a duo. Vaxelon gets the shield swap with the definition of 1 HP as well. So Furia continue their march towards a win here in this game day.
With all these kills, Furia have extended their lead at the top by 9. TSM are still alive, though. They are in the southern side of the circle, and they have found a building, but that building is being shared by 2 other teams, potentially 3, as Liquid Alienware also dart into the zone. But it's where Furia go from here. Are they going to be held out on the northern side? Edges and Skid both looking at them. Let's see how LG do, though, on their move from the eastern side. Let's go to a listen.
My bang up landing. Hey, 40 flush on the left guy.
15. They're on the left over here. Jump in.
Yep.
Yeah,
chill. We need to look left after this one.
Right here. We just need to make sure we're not getting wrapped. Make sure someone's not doing the same thing, Sling.
Nothing wrapping yet. Fun, keep him left there. I'm looking left for wrap.
Bang 140 on the right.
Nothing wrapping, nothing wrapping.
Look at right.
Yeah. I'm watching your wrap here.
Eva.
Yo, listen, Sykes, come to me. We have to hold our wrap when we walk in. What's in front of you guys? Anything playable?
Yeah, like 3 teams. Bro, I think we can play. Nah, is this playable, Sykes? Right here. Is this in?
Let me look.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we are in here, but we'll have to like move to this rock later, okay? The building shit won't be in. We have to hold this left wrap though, and we're gonna lock in here, okay?
I'm scanning right. Yeah. Look at that.
We might need to end bottom floor of the 2-story though.
Let's check out that area.
Evac happening. They're taking roof backside big building.
I'm 4-2, boys.
Okay, 6-1 or 1-6.
Oh, they're fuse all fighting the roof.
1-6, like
try to throw. I have 6 cells. One back.
Oh yeah, say cells first.
TSM is killing the team on high.
I'm blowing up the door up there. Wait, can you knuckle cluster the doors over here?
Hold on.
Any ulti cells?
We have kills here on the left. No ulti cells, fine. No.
Okay.
Look where I'm at right now. You're full in on me.
Yeah. Right, we can just cross there and chill. And if it's bad, we can cross that rock. We're kind of like wrapped there for a second, okay? And we can look for kills on the left. We need to not let that 2-story team play the roof, okay? We might play the roof here in a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's the play. That is the 100% the play.
We play from here. We fucking jam on them here. They have door perk, and then we play roof.
No one can even shoot us now. We can go now.
Wait,
As we lose the listening, LG, they are losing nothing right now. They make their plan. They want to try and take the roof of the Complexity building late, but they're in a great spot here up on the high ground.
All the meanwhile, Furia were eliminated, and suddenly first place does potentially open up for TSM. 4 points behind Furia now, but they have to try and get within this circle. Vanity are holding them out. NG now have a solo rat that could really change things, and Temper are in this area. TSM either need 4 to 5 kills, or they have to somehow stay alive as a 3 here and get into this next zone.
Reps has a Kraber, and Reps has a chance to hit some shots, narrowly misses, but another placement point will be picked up. NGNL will be eliminated in the meantime, and TSM have a chance to do this. Reps has to hit the battery and manages to do so, but TSM are now forced to slide out from that height down to the low ground, and Jayon's looking at them as well, trying to scream some damage, and Reps will go down, and that is massive as he was the player with the Kraber.
TSM's chance is slowly fading away here as 1 falls, but there are still 2 alive, and they can still do some some damage here, Zap and Verhulst. Just need to make sure they get Zap back up to full health so they can at least fight as a 2. Job 1 is done, though. They got into the zone. Sadly, though, they have lost a member. By the way, Complexity still alive. 3rd place at the moment. There is still a chance they could push themselves into top 2 and an outside chance of still winning the entire thing if they get the remainder of these kills and win.
And now it's the chancer as well for Complexity to answer some of the other questions we've been posing, right? Are they able to close games out? Can they turn top 5s, top 6, top 7s into wins? It's something they have struggled with. But with the building they're in right now, they will be safe for the longest. You don't really get many better opportunities this for Complexity. And now it's down to 6. Temper will be eliminated in the meantime as Kimchi, well, he's got a free firing range in front of him.
TSM have just been able to get another kill and another placement point here, so they're up to 67, and you can see Zap in the kill feed. He is doing more jobs, and he is getting TSM one step closer of maybe being able to pick up those points and close in on Furia, but Complexity still holding one of the better positions. But it's Zap and Verhulst as a duo, 2 points behind Furia, and a chance to win the entire day here.
Question is, what do they do? Where do they play? Because LG are going to be looking at them. They play for the smokes. Now, Verhulst does have the ability to get the health regen in the smokes as well, so those smokes are going to be even more useful for them. But they've got to hold off with just pure gun at the moment. Bullets and ammo is all they can use. They don't have any other color. One more smoke comes up at just the right time. No ultimate to use to buy them even more time. And I think the call has been made now for TSM to look for some KP. 5 squads remaining as SKD will go down, as Verhulst will pick up a KP himself.
They are 1 point behind Furia now. They need another placement point or maybe a KP. They find the KP. They're tied with Furia as a duo, but they are still not quite there yet. 1 more point required. LG can certainly add to this if TSM can just about survive, but Sykes gets sent to Narnia. Vanity eliminated, and TSM take 1st place.
TSM take 1st place. It is a monumental effort from the duo in the endgame as Sykes, who was just knocked into the Shadow Realm for a few seconds, now is trying to relocate his crosshair onto the team up on that high ground. Him and Funk are going to have to do the work, and they might be able to get the reset here on Sweet as well.
We've seen LG do crazy things as a solo, and they might be able to get up to a full 3. As you mentioned, Sweet is getting rezzed, and LG back on their feet, and now with the opportunity, with the position they find themselves in to maybe win this game.
Skynade might be massive here. If it's perfect, it could knock Complexity back down with a bump. Complexity have to drop, though. The Rolling Thunder's going to come in. TSM eliminated as Complexity will get the win. That's what they wanted to close the day out. Complexity will be your champions of the final game. But TSM, that name is synonymous with winning, and they are not making any changes as they look like they've taken 1st place away.
TSM will take 1st place. Complexity secure top 3, and actually we're only 1 point off of taking 2nd place from Furia as well. I said it would be difficult for them to get up into the top 1 position, right? Because they'd have to have a big game, a big win, and see Furia and TSM fall early. Sadly, neither TSM or Furia fell early enough for Complexity, but they still put themselves at the top of the leaderboard. A top 3 position and a win on the board is going to give them the world of confidence. But for TSM, as a duo, needing what? 4-5 points at the end, being able to hold off several teams and getting those extra placement points, they're going to be delighted.
A monumental effort in that final moments from TSM. We said at the start of that game they were going to have to work for it, and we'll bring Rain Day back in because work for it they did. And what a confidence boost that is, Rain, for TSM and their fan base to show that they can still do it when it matters. An amazing effort from them. Rain Day, are you with us, my friend?
I am. And, you know, the clutch element of it, too, the moment there, it was big. It was a moment they had to seize something. And I talked about being incisive. And what was indicative of the old TSM for me and match point teams that could win was these moments and doing it, right? Really not being passive and making a decision that was a little risky, knowing you were going for what you want. And I think that's what I saw here. I saw TSM decide just with 2, we're going to get into zone. Even though they lost 1, they're going to shield that up. They're going to fight if someone runs around the corner. They're going to look for KP. And they ended up getting, I believe, 7 points or maybe 8 points out of that push with just 2 players to get the ultimate results. We don't have them in front of you yet. But it was one of those moments that just, I think this is catharsis for TSM. I feel like this is like a weight off their shoulders. I think for the fan base as well, this is looking ahead to the future and seeing possibility, seeing hope, because man, this is a look at TSM that really is the only way we think of TSM, which is winning. And that's familiar. And that's what it looks like just happened today. But a great call as well. And you look at these games, complexity, another team on another storyline, maybe a contagonist here, maybe not the protagonist of the overall story, but someone who is certainly giving a couple of side quests to them and being a bit difficult. Complexity finally find their own jump in this story and elevate to winning a game. That was the one thing I challenged them on. I felt that they did not have going for them in LAN, and now they grab it in the most crucial of times, jumping all the way up to, I believe, 3rd place. LG, TSM, clearly our top performers across the day outside of Furia, who they will feel like they missed an opportunity here, Dan, especially with the fact that they went out so early.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a frustrating one to look back at for Fury, but at the same time, you know, top 2 is nothing to be sniffed at. It was a back and forth performance between Fury and TSM. Like, what year am I in, right? And it's 2 entirely different squads, but it's the same orgs doing the same thing and putting on a show for us. It was a delight to watch, a delight to be involved with. And then other teams who didn't quite get going today. Oblivion, I had a high expectation after their performance, not only in scrims, but also their first match week. They weren't really able to find the same form. Disguise didn't get going, Not Moist didn't get going, and they were the bottom 3 in that match 6 as well. It is back to the drawing board for all 3 of those teams.
That's just such a strange bottom 3 mark. And, you know, obviously we don't want to be too critical of teams at this point. Everyone's still figuring it out. But you would hope that teams of that caliber, who we've talked about in the same breath as LAN winners, you know, don't put together games like that as much. But it happens to everybody. And at this point, a lot of these teams have been on both sides of the story. But look at this, TSM over 1. Mark, your reactions here. Them finally doing enough. They take match day number 3 as the winners.
I mean, the changes and the stories that TSM and Reps and Verholst have been through in the previous month or so, with the big change that came in, obviously with Hal leaving, the question was always like, is this going to be TSM? But there's something about the chemistry, whoever's on that lineup who represents that banner, when the pressure is on most, for some reason, they perform best, right? And when the talk starts, when the doubt starts, that's when TSM historically have pulled out results. And even though this is just 1 week of Pro League, let's not get it mixed up, right? This is a new roster who have lost arguably the best player in Apex history. So to come out and answer some of those critics by saying, hey, even though we've lost Hal, we still have talent, and most importantly, we still know how to win, I think sets us up beautifully for the rest of this split as well.
I just don't think it could have come at a better time for them as well. And yes, there is a way where, you know, you do this in the opening weekend and you make even bigger of a statement against Falcons, but let's just leave that where it is. And I think it actually worked out so perfectly that they were able to have this match day and do it to kind of end that first round robin of these groups with Falcons on the sidelines, watching it, letting it kind of really be all about this new roster and showcasing how dangerous they can be when let off that leash. They certainly made an impact today. And let's walk through our final circles for those maybe just catching the tail end of the broadcast. Overall, just to recap here, it was game 4 that would kick us off in Storm Point. Mark, we would watch that one, and this would be another one where we felt TSM would have everything going for them. It wouldn't turn out that way because of a tough climb. But again, this was just another circle that they played so well in.
Yeah, I think the consistency for TSM today is absolutely exceptional, right? You look at their placements, and getting towards the end game is essentially step 1 of being a successful Apex Legends team, right? It's being able to navigate the traffic. It's about finding a spot to play, to exist, to live, to survive long enough to almost get to the position where you can fight to call yourselves the champion. If you can do that, you put yourself in a really good spot, and they almost managed to clutch up as well in those final moments. But it was Empire who had just a little bit more of an advantage to stay safe for longest there, and they managed to close out.
Walk us through game 5 as well, Dan, because then that would kick things off, and you would look at Furia really having some strong moments here, but Native Gaming also here in this position.
Yeah, this was the early exit for TSM as well, which did open the door for someone to play catch-up. And it was Furia who said, look, we might not win this game in the position we find ourselves in, but we know full well that this team has their back against the wall. Let's take the fight, because we can secure the 3 points. We've already got enough in this game that's probably going to have us winning on points overall anyway. And it was NGNL who took away the victory. They dropped at Jurassic Park, so they were the most likely, but you've also got to tip your hat. When it comes to your POI, you get it done, and they certainly showed what they are made of here.
100%. It's like hitting your free throws if you're an NBA fan. You know, you got to know you just stuck to your percentage. You didn't deviate from the opportunities given to you. You earn those foul shots. And this way, right here, this is where TSM, I want to just walk through this as well, Mark. You guys didn't see this perspective, but they were in a top 4. They had gotten 7 kills overall. Verholz with 5 of them here in this position, doing so well to just stay alive and keep getting anything and everything that they could. I think they ended up getting this one, which was the big difference. Look at this. I didn't realize they 2v3'd that.
I mean, Cloud9 just got taught a lesson. It's as simple as that. And one thing that I loved about the decision making from TSN in this end game was how decisive it was. You saw the moment of, okay, we play for kills. We play for kills in this position, and from there, they swung into the bottom of that building. They were aggressive. They weren't worried about losing their lives as long as someone else came with them. Complexity in the final moments, though, it was a big moment for them as well, because we were saying they aren't closing games out. They get into top 5s, but they aren't getting the wins. Well, they got the win in that final game. And if you're looking at the regular season standings, this is how things look, Rain.
Big movers. TSM 14 positions after day 1, and then now into day 3. That is going to feel nice for them at the end of this evening and this round robin series of match days. Fury as well move up 10. LG right behind them moving up 7. SKD Mark moving up 8. Flat just making it into the top 10. Bottom 10, of course, we got some negative slides, and this will happen as it is. Complexity make a big jump up, but in the same vein, we see Tripods, we see Weave, CCE, Vanity, Oblivion as well. They go well down. NGNL Esports outside of the 30th position into 20, which secures them a chance. If they hold that, obviously into being able to play in our regional finals, which could give them a chance to make land. Big one though, big slide disguised. 4 points. Elevate as well, obviously a new roster, but man, that's just surprising on all fronts for that org.
Yes, it is, but at the same time, it shows the strength of this region, right? It's not easy to just walk your way into a top 10, to walk your way into victories. And as everyone else is building, growing, changing their rosters, trying to be the best version of themselves, it's very easy to sometimes fall behind if you are not putting in the work or if you are struggling a little bit with chemistry. And I don't think that Disguised are out of it by any means. I wouldn't be surprised if they come back completely battling in the next time we see them. But you have to recognize that this is a region where there's too much strength and there are too many teams trying to compete for the same positions at LAN.
And, you know, now it's starting to get scary as well, but you still have got 2 more rotations of this. Every team, every group has played each other once. We're going to do that again, and then we're going to do that again. And that's going to lead us to the regional finals. So still essentially 6 more match days that they have to experiment before we find our top 20. And those top 20 compete for a chance at our land spots in the split 2 playoff. So a lot to do, and now not so much time, but there is still hope. One player who definitely always has hope, always has that work ethic, always has that intelligence, and now experience, as I had mentioned, is our MVP of today, and it's none other than Evan Verholz. Now, again, this is one of those players that puts in the work on and off the battlefield in the ALGS, and has prioritized, and I dare say pioneered, a lot of the physical and mental health focus that he believes esports players, not just in Apex Legends, but in all of esports, should have. And from raw skill, this player has always been in the top conversation. That 1v2 at the end with reps, it proves it. But what's more important is that he's stepped up into this role, and he will continue to have to step up again and again and again if they are going to be the TSM that you saw today. 18 kills, 2nd place overall in the kill leaders, and 4th place overall in total assists, as well as 7th place in overall top damage. I got to give a shout out to Lou, who actually top damaged this entire lobby, so shout outs there. But overall MVP, it was Verholz. He put together a performance, and for a team in TSM that certainly needed it, and that's why we wanted to highlight him today, although a huge shout out to Reps and Zap as well. And speaking of the man, the myth, the legend himself, it is Evan Verholz joining us for the interview. Evan, congratulations on the win.
Thank you. It's hard win. You know, the boys had a lot of work to do since last Pro League day, and we figured a lot of things out, and it feels really good. Made a lot of progress over the last week.
Well, what did you do specifically? Walk us through that progress. What changed, and what were the conversations that we weren't privy to this week that you guys had to have in order to get the result today?
I think the biggest thing was just a matter of the 3 of us learning how to IGL. So like we didn't know who was going to IGL at first. Like at first I tried it, and then Reps tried it, and now Zap is the one IGLing. So all three of us have basically had to learn all the macro from the bottom up. Like since we both come from teams that have had pretty good IGLs. You know, we had Hal, Zap had Zach Mazer. And they both basically took care of all the macro. And so all three of us had to learn how to we basically all three had to learn macro together. And we've all been learning it at the exact same time. So we all have the exact same exact same idea of like how macro works. So like it makes us like have really, really good synergy, I think, because we've all had to learn macro basically like as a team, like all at the same time. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like we've just been learning macro. Like at the start, our macro was just terrible. Our team fighting was actually really good at the start last Pro League, but we just like our macro was just so stupid. We'd like put ourselves in bad spots. We'd go and just get ourselves killed for free. But now it's like our team fighting is really good and our macro is really good. And now we're just trying to refine what we already have.
I want to say today, it seemed like you consistently put yourself in really good spots on the map, and you can see that hard work is starting to pay off a little bit, right? But I want to talk to you a little bit about, you know, what a week it's been for you, because everybody's seen there's been some, shall we say, some hot topics of discussion between you and other people and back and forths. And, you know, the truth is usually somewhere in between the two, I always say, right? When you have those kind of two-sided things. You're usually a very reserved person when it comes to Apex. You let your gameplay do the talking. How has the week been for you with all of that kind of playing out in the background? Has that been noise to you that's been a distraction, or has that lit a bit of a fire underneath you?
I think if anything, it's all lit a fire underneath me. I mean, it's been a lot of there's been a lot of talk that like our team is basically going to be trashed without Hal, and I just don't think that's the case at all. You know, we're grinding to prove all those guys wrong. And yeah, like there's a lot of drama this week. You know, a little bit of a heated topic between me, Hal, and Raven, and like what actually happened. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, that drama's not going to go anywhere. All we can do is just grind and try and be the best team we can be. And it's just a waste of time to even think about what's going on and just focus on the game now.
Well, certainly your gameplay did do the speaking today, most particularly in that final game. As a duo, I watched something that you very rarely see, like teams getting wiped out 2v3 in a very emphatic fashion. What's going through your mind then when you are a two in those final moments? Are you thinking like we're just trying to survive, or we have to take fights, or is it just working on the fly together?
I mean, right there, we understand that we kind of need to clear the left side, because we can't walk up the right because there's already a team up there and we're going to be like in the open. And we just figured like there's going to be so many teams fighting on our left, we're just going to go clean it up. And we knew even as a duo, in this game, you can still do so much, especially if you have like just good position and you catch teams off guard. Like you can 2v3 teams surprisingly, as long as you can kind of just like catch them in the open or catch them off guard. And that's kind of what happened with C9 at the end there. They swung out of that room, and I think they got shot in the back because they were all kind of weak too. I know Zap killed one right away, and their two were kind of like low, and I just try to like play my life best I can while outputting as much damage as I can, and it just ended up working out. There's definitely a little bit of luck, but I think we played it extremely well as well.
You know, one of the things in life that's so interesting, and having been, you know, this many different games and esports and living in different places, and it's just been, you know, anyone goes through it after enough time, things change, right? Things that you think are really a part of your core identity, whether it's a house you grew up in, whether it's a job you've always had, right? And I feel like this was a huge identity shift coming into this season, to see you guys and Hal not together. And it's been such an iconic run. You've gotten this question a million times, but to me, I want to know from now, like, has there been any, I guess, future, and not hindsight, but future like understanding of what could be next for you guys, not just to prove people wrong or be thinking that team's done, it's over, there's a new journey. Have you seen kind of like a flip side to allow what's this potential that's available for this new Verhulst? What can you step into that maybe you weren't able to step into before? What has it meant to you? I just want to kind of close on that and give you a chance to reflect on maybe what the future holds in store for you as a player.
I feel like now on this team, I have a lot more control over the team than I ever used to have. I feel like what I say and what I do matters a lot more than before. I feel like I almost feel like on this team, everyone's a bit more equal, so everyone trusts each other more equally. And I feel like that allows me to basically just do more, like kind of like take initiative on a lot of things that I couldn't do beforehand. And you know, I think our team definitely has the potential to win EWC and win Split 2 here coming up. Maybe even win Pro League. I know Falcons has a huge lead on us right now. Falcons is pretty dang good right now. They're hard to beat. But you know, I think we've been learning from Falcons. We've been watching what they do and trying to learn how to counter what they do, and you know, figure out what they do and why they do it, and try and do it better. And I think all three of us have been, you know, learning quite a bit. So SSG, I think SSG is maybe a little bit ahead of us. You know, they're mechanics freaks. They're all insanely good at fighting, but I think we haven't beaten the macro department. And yeah, I'm really excited for our team. I think our team just has so much potential. I mean, we've been playing together for what, like 3 weeks now? It's been 3 weeks. And like, none of us know how to IGL. We've had to figure it out over the last 2 weeks. I mean, that's pretty hard to do. Like, there's a lot of players that have had to, like, have been given IGL responsibility and have not been able to do anything with it. You know, like, losing your IGL sucks. It really does. It's hard. And you know, Zap is the man. I mean, he's been taking on the IGL role for TSM, like filling Hal's shoes. That's not easy to do at all, and he's been killing it. And Reps has stepped it up too. I mean, he's been an absolute beast. Like his ability usage today was so goddamn good. Like just that first game that we won, he was just every fuse ult and knuckle cluster he shot was just like perfect. I mean, he was just giving us free kills. He didn't shoot his gun a whole lot, but every ability that he used was just absolutely god tier. And it was just god tier. And the thing is, on fuse, you really don't need to shoot your gun at all. I mean, he understands that. He just farms the fuse.
I didn't know if that was you throwing shade at Jordan there a little bit, or if you're complimenting him. But either way, it works out. I know what you're getting at. Don't worry, I'm not throwing you under the bus here. I just wanted to kind of give you an opportunity here, because you and Reps, obviously, history is on your side when it comes to winning, right? You've won a lot of tournaments, you've had a lot of success, but I said during the cast today that I think the hardest pair of shoes to fill, and probably the most unenviable job in the world, is to try and fill the shoes of Hal, right? So I wanted to like give you an opportunity to say what Zap brings to your team as a player, as a personality, and really give him an opportunity to just have a little bit of a spotlight here, and you know, show that he's come in and he's doing an incredible job, considering the shadow that is kind of looming over of like everybody expecting him to be able to do what Hal did.
Yeah. I mean, I think Zap understands how much pressure is on him to do well. I mean, he knows how good Hal was. He knows how big TSM is, like our legacy, and how good we've been. And he understands that fully. Like he knows that he has a lot of work to do, and he's been doing all that work. I mean, he's been putting in so much work. He's been honestly he's inspired me and Jordan to get better at team fighting a lot. I know that for sure. I mean, Zap is just like one of the best team fighters in the game. I mean, that dude, like the amount of like random kills he'll get through like doorways and just like this random picks is just nuts. I mean, the recoil on his guns doesn't move at all. Like he is just basically aimbot when it comes to recoil on the Hemlock and the Havoc. And you know, yeah, he's just been a beast. Like he understands the responsibility he has now trying to IGL, and he's been absolutely killing it. Like he's been putting in the work. He's been watching VODs. Like he's been thinking about, you know, what he has to do as a leader, and he's been absolutely killing it. Like he's on top of that, like I think he's really good at communicating. Like he isn't like he keeps the team on the same page. He always calms what he's thinking. And he's just been honestly kind of a natural at IGL so far. He's been a beast.
Well, you know, Evan, thank you so much for the introspection as well, and the just awareness of what's been going on behind the scenes. It's been a great ride that you guys have taken the fans of the ALGS on throughout these last few weeks, dare I say this last month. But I'm so happy to see you guys thriving and having success here on this Sunday to close out our first round robin. We wish you continued success as well, and good luck. You know, the first team of 3 IGLs. You know, I love to see it.
One IGL. Zap's the one IGL. We help out. That's one IGL. That's one IGL.
Yeah.
It might seem like
okay,
IGLs,
we'll have to.
Zap is the final say.
We'll have to run that tape back, okay? But no, I got to give a lot of love to all you guys. Hey, thanks, man, and appreciate you joining us, and congratulations on the win again.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Verholst, MVP, TSM win the day, Reps there alongside as well, and Zapto, you know, finally maybe having that moment, right, that we were expecting, we wanted and waited to see how it would turn out. Well, what a debut in terms of the first few match days that we've had. Mark, great interview from Verholst, and closing out the day. Final thoughts on it. It was really, really, you know, one of the more fun, I think, match days we've had in a while.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty blessed today with the interviews, right? We had an amazing one with Nasky a little bit earlier in EMEA. Yeah. We've got a little peek behind the scenes after, I think, what would have been a very turbulent a week or so for Verholst personally, with everything what's gone on behind the scenes and away from the game. But the takeaway is, when all of this kind of settles, and you know what's the outcome is, TSM are back. Like TSM are back, and they're getting better and better, and they've just won. So even though TSM changes, TSM keep winning. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be very difficult to change moving forward.
All right, Dan. I mean, To me, this was a day filled with a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, and obviously a big win for TSM. What's your big takeaway?
I didn't know if you were going to ask yourself a question at that point. That's kind of what I've expected as the show's gone on.
Can't go there. I can't go there.
It's been an amazing day. Almost, I think the last time I casted Online Pro League, TSM were winning, and I come back and TSM are winning again. Nothing seems to change despite the fact that the rosters change. Can't wait for it all to happen next weekend as well. North America and EMEA both putting on an incredible show. As always, I appreciate the players so much for the hard work, the dedication they put into this game, because we are blessed to be able to watch these incredible people put on the show for us.
All right, well, Rain Day, Onset, and Gaskin closing out the show. Thanks, guys. Have a great one. Appreciate you. It was a fun day as well. All right, you're going to have to watch the tape back to see that one. Some inside jokes developing on the ALGS. That's what you get on the main broadcast. We have fun, and guess what? Even more fun to see us in person. So we're doing all this stuff live. If you missed out LA Split 2, it's coming up, those playoffs. We're playing Split 2 match days to get there. And next Saturday, we continue restarting and getting back into our second round of round robins with match day 4 in EMEA happening on Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. BST, 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's going to be a great time as well for you guys to join us, and it's always a fun time in the ALGS. One of the big takeaways for me, TSM not only just winning, but all the changes that we've had symbolize something in life that always happens. You always have these changes, and it's important to continue defining your own narrative, because life will change, but it's how you handle the changes that really makes you who you are. We appreciate everyone who watches, who joins us, and who follows us on Play Apex Esports on YouTube, twitch.tv/PlayApex, and of course, all the notifications of when we go live and all of our match days on X at Play Apex Esports. From EA, all of our production team at Esports Engine, all of our talent, Dan Gaskin and myself, Rain Day, we wish you a fantastic day. Go play Apex Legends, and remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and I will see you all next time.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel.